Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the VIS League, bringing you guys the second split of autumn season. I'm your host, Dragonborn. Joining me tonight, Tasty Bacon, Denominate, forecasting duties, as well as to help break down these matches and get us into the draft. And wow, feels like forever, Tasty and Denominate. It's been a long time. We've actually had a pretty sizable break between Split 1 and Split 2, as we didn't have challengers this season in the mid-split. But it has been a refreshing break, and we have an exciting group of teams ready to go for you guys. And let's get right into it. Denominate, we've had a really incredible season last split. A lot of excitement happened, and specifically, we got to kind of see how these teams would be seeded coming into split number 2. So I really want to get right into that and take a look at Group A here on the bracket. I mean, Group A, it comprises of some of those teams we really saw play very well last season. Obviously, starting off with number 1 seed, the Kardashians, who, you know, coming out, were they a 13 seed or a 12 seed, and stunning the entire community and upsetting a lot of people to get that first place.
Yeah, they put on a really great show, and I think it was actually pretty unexpected for just about everybody that was, either in or watching the tournament. I think we really expected either Tilt Rehab or Echo Fox to be the ones to go all the way. And it just didn't end up being the case. It was the Kardashians that put on a great showing. And it's all players that, you know, they are familiar with the Vainglory competitive scene. So it's kind of nice to see them come back into the right of things.
Absolutely. You know, I would say it was a surprise for everybody except the Kardashians. These are all pro players who have been in the competitive scene actually for quite some time. And so they just happened to find that chemistry, synergized together very well as they came onto this roster here. But, you know, looking at some of the other teams, Lost in the Echo. But a little bit of news there. Lost in the Echo has been acquired by the Misfits organization, which is an incredible organization, of course, in multiple games, including League of Legends. And here, you know, to have their Vainglory presence, they really feel strongly about this roster. They announced it today on Twitter, and of course, they'll be playing here tonight as well. And that's
am I incorrect, Dragon? I thought it was Tilt Rehab that got picked up by them.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It is Tilt Rehab that got picked up by Misfits, not Lost in the Echo. That's absolutely correct. Sorry about that. But that's actually going to be our matchup to watch tonight, because that's going to be our first stream matchup, is Misfits versus Halcyon Baboons. A 4 seed, we really expect a lot out of these guys because, you know, obviously coming in a 4 seed, they were projected to be one of the top seeded teams last split, and they played fairly well. They got that 4th place, but I think they're coming in here this season with a chip on their shoulder because they really were expecting to get a lot more.
Yeah, they absolutely were, and it's going to be so exciting to see us get into these games and know exactly, you know, what we have ahead of us. You know, the competition, at least as far as what we saw last season, has been so much closer here in North America. It's kind of hard to tell who's going to come up on top this time. Obviously, the Kardashians pulled it off last season. Will they be able to have a repeat now that everything is on the line for that end of season challenge battles? You know, there's a little discrepancy between Season 1 and Season 2. You know, what's really on the line? There's no actual challenge battles we're fighting for at this point. But they were fighting for the seeding. So getting that number 1 spot is really going to put them up against what should be at least considered to be a easier team based on the seeding. So it should give them a little bit easier of a path to get that far again.
Yeah, and I want to just highlight real quick as we get into this game momentarily is, you know, it's really important for all these teams to play well. And for Misfits specifically, when we watched them play last split, really, the games that they played very well and the games that were very critical, it always hinged on Jazzville. And so he is our player to watch tonight. He is actually going to be probably our player to watch for this roster almost through the entire tournament this split, because he is a phenomenal laner. He had some incredible games, but he really has to show up every single night if he wants to put Misfits all the way in to challenge battles. You know, being 4 seed, if this was split number 2, would not have been enough to get into challenge battles. So it's really important that he helps his team actually improve over last split and get into that top 3 placement. It's definitely going to be, you know, very, very critical for the Misfits organization and for this roster. I know they really feel like they have what it takes to get it done. But hey, we're going to get into draft for game number 1 here. in just a few seconds as we wait for everyone to get in and queue up. And it looks like we're ready to go, so let's jump right into it, Denamine, as we look to see how it's going to happen. Misfits versus Halcyon Baboons in this best of 3 here in Game 1. And now we are in single ban draft, so the banning is more direct, and we see Catherine, maybe a Rhyme ban, Denamine, but typically the second ban is really going to be focused on what they want to like not have to play against. Specifically, it looks like a Cruel. So Cruel or Rhyme are kind of those two junglers we've really seen kind of come into their own.
Yeah, we absolutely have, and it does make it a little bit more difficult of really deciding what it is you want to take off of the roster of your enemies, because you don't get that second round of bans. But we do see the Blackfeather and the Arden come through here really quickly, and we do know how strong that Blackfeather has been this patch. Obviously, looking at the VG8, it is a highly contested pick. It's almost 100% pick or ban. Obviously not in every case is that true, but so far, you know, he's really looking like a good hero to pick up. But the Rhyme that, you know, we have picking up here, that's also been one that's been highly contested. Yeah,
it has been, and actually it's banned a lot in 2.9.1. It's very tanky, very hard to get, take out, very hard to kill. So Rhyme has just a lot of power and a lot of damage, and you honestly see like it's just either it's not banned when it is picked up. It's paired very well with almost everybody and does a great job. Turnwalker, though, is going to be picked up here for the side of Misfits, and this is incredible. We've seen really only one team successfully use Turnwalker, and it has been Team Solo Mid, so this is actually very exciting to see Turnwalker come in here into the Challenge Series.
Swap heroes.
And with the final pick, it's going to be Fox. But there we have it, Blackfeather. Wow, Misfits draft, I've got to be honest, Denamine, is a really strong draft because you've got a lot of damage, and then Turnwalker can really help deliver that damage to the entire enemy's team. And this could be an absolute, complete disaster for Halcyon Baboons if they do not have a way to deal with all that damage that's going to be coming out of Misfits.
Yeah, the Misfits lineup is incredibly powerful. Again, you did mention that the only team that's really been able to pull off the Turnwalker is TSM. We even saw Cloud9 try that. End up being a little bit unsuccessful. But getting into this matchup, I specifically like the weapon Kestrel here on Jazzville, at least what I would expect. The Crystal Blackfeather to me, which it does look like Crowley is going to be going, not quite the strongest Blackfeather route this patch, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, we're looking to get into the fold and start off our first game in second split. I'm going to kick it over to our casters, Denamine and Tasty Bacon, to take us into the fold.
All right, thank you very much, Dragonborn. I am Tasty Bacon, and as you guys already know, joining me is Denamine for this game. And yeah, Misfits going to be looking to make a very strong impression here in this split of the Challengers. This is the split that matters so much. The top teams will be going on to the challenge battles to get a spot in the Vainglory 8 next year. And right away, we have Scarab trying to pressure the Misfits a little bit, but he doesn't take any camps away, ends up in actually a little bit of trouble, but he is buying time for his teammates to try and start up this Ancient Treant. But will they actually be able to get it? Misfits gonna steal that one away, and now they're gonna look for first blood on Jeffer. Early on, you can really punish that Rhyme. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah, and what a beautiful steal there from Jazzville, coming in with that Glimmer shot. Doesn't have a lot of power behind it when you only have 1 point put into that ability, but it was just enough to get that 120 gold into their pocket, as well as keep the healing onto Jazzville, which allowed them to continue that push and find first blood, resulting a 500 gold lead already for Misfits. And now it is this Blackfeather rotating to his backs with Ali Peterson trying to get some of that ambient gold. And this is a good start for Misfits, and I already think they have the better composition, in all honesty.
And one thing that is actually very interesting, it's not going to have a massive outcome on the game at the end, but Jazzville in the lane actually put 2 points into the Glimmer shot before putting that third point into the active camo, and used it to really try and harass Low Fat Yogurt. Got him down to about half health. Now he's going to be able to rotate down because he had that wave clear. They steal away the Ancient Treant again. This time it's Crowley that's going to be getting that extra gold and regen. And so excellent work by Misfits to try and control this early jungle. Again, not getting a massive lead off of it just yet, but if you continue putting together these small advantages, you will eventually find yourself with a insurmountable gold lead.
Yeah, you absolutely will, and I do kind of like when you stagger that Elder Treant gold onto both your carries. Again, both carries are going to have a more expensive overall build than the actual support on the team, that captain. So getting them both to a point that they can run away with these fights and get to a overwhelming, damaging part of the game is so incredibly important. That's why we see a lot of teams do that double back rotation, just trying to make sure that early game gold gets onto the carries. You know, getting that Sorrow Blade online for Jazzville is a huge point to make, and they are starting up another Treant here.
Yeah, that one's going to go to them easily. No contest from their opponents, and they're just going to be able to take that and rotate back up the lane. A huge minion wave built up for Jazzville to collect. And it's actually, they're going to be sharing this experience 3 ways. And again, you know, the team, the grouped experience has been increased in update 2.9, so it's not that bad of a situation. It allows Allie Peterson to get a little bit more levels underneath their belt with the rest of the team. And it's just sharing that gold around the carries a little bit more. Like you said, trying to get to those first item power spikes as quickly as they can, as they're going to be sending Jazzville into the jungle to help clear with Crowley. So big emphasis on this first power spike, trying to get there very, very quickly. I'm really curious to see where Crowley is going to go with this build. I feel like the Crystal Black Feather, it is still very strong. It does do a ton of damage, but it's one of the heroes where the build path is wide open with the changes to the crystal items.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is going to be fun to see what he decides to end up going. Obviously, we do have changes to several of the crystal items. I think specifically looking at Broken Myth is no longer that real, like, solo hyper carry.
No longer the, if you're a crystal mage and not building Broken Myth, you're doing it wrong.
Right. So I think there is a lot of viability to this Crystal Black Feathers. We see them taking the turrets so quickly there as another fight's breaking out, Bacon.
Yeah, they've got the chains on a couple of targets. Valkyrie comes out but doesn't connect. They take the turret down. Misfits just getting that objective and getting on out. Let's see if they look for another fight here, but I just don't think that that they're going to be able to get one. They really would have loved to have gotten a fight, but didn't want to chase too far into the opponent's side of the map. But excellent movements from the Misfits, taking advantage of the opportunity and taking that first objective. So as we are now at the 5-minute mark of the game, you can see Misfits have already accrued themselves a 2K gold lead. Halcyon Baboons gonna have to put in a little bit of work to try and get themselves scaled up to a point where they're gonna be able to fight the Misfits. Misfits have this very strong mid-game power spike, and again, they put so much effort into focusing on this, on getting to this power spike, that they're gonna hit that. They're gonna have this huge advantage, and the Halcyon Baboons, it's going to be very difficult for them to regain any ground on the fold.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to. And again, this Tilted Rehab lineup that is now Misfits has made it very far during every single one of the at least the recent Challenger Series games. So this is a team we really expect to see make it incredibly far. And, you know, I'm really excited to see Allie Peterson on this Churnwalker. One of the biggest performances we saw in Allie Peterson has always been the Catherine, someone who's very good at stunning targets up, keeping them in a position where Crowley and Jazzville can capitalize. And Churnwalker kind of fills a similar role. Here we go, damage on Mofat Yoga.
There's that damage coming out from the Black Feather, able to do big chunks, and now they've got Jeffer stuck with no energy. He's just going to go down. The chain's doing work as they find a second kill. Scarippa's going to try and run away here, try and lead them through the Crystal Sentry, but there's just nowhere for him to go, getting stuck by the opponents. One shot is not going to be able to find him, but it is just buying time for the rest of the team to chase over. Crowley going to work on this. Meanwhile, the Sentry is going to get taken down off the tail end of this. No ace, at least. That was avoided by Scarippa staying alive for so long, but this is still all coming up Misfits 4-0.
Yeah, a beautiful start here for them, getting 4 kills early on and not giving up anything in return. obviously that's going to be a win all day long for them. And, you know, again, this Churnwalker is a huge playmaker in low-fat yogurt.
Jazville with so much damage already on this Kestrel. 200 complete, 527 crit. There's just no way you're going to be able to deal with that 7 minutes into this game. And that is another kill secured by the Misfits.
Yeah, 5-0 with almost a 5,000 gold lead accruing for them. They have to be pretty happy with this turnout so far. And this Kestrel has made such short work of the enemies, looking at those huge crits that Kestrel has. And obviously with the changes we've had recently to defense, those Glimmer Shots will do a bit more damage to compensate for the fact that they have a little bit higher health on each one of the heroes. So that's important to make note of too. And they're not letting up the aggression. This Rhyme is just not being allowed to have the effect that we so normally see him have because of just how much upfront damage Jazville is bringing to the table.
And that upfront damage is the key to this. I mean, you're seeing this Rhyme just get poked out before he's able to get that fortified health built up. If he doesn't do damage, he doesn't get the fortified health, and you can just tear through him. Especially going for the 2 crystal builds. Both of these carries going for a Shatter Glass as the first item to nominate. So just both wanting to get that flat damage out there.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And they're starting up this gold mine, but, you know, it is a little bit risky. Everybody's here.
It's risky, but they're going to be able to secure it. Now the team fight can begin, though. Lots of chains going down. Lots of shared damage. Just look at these health bars melting. It's going to be Scarapa using the gauntlet. Nice block by Jazville in order to continue this chase. But Scarapa is going to get far enough away. The Crystal Sentry starts to turn around. And it looks like Misfits, they want to continue playing around here. Are they going to actually commit to this fight, though? It's 2-on-2 with the Crystal Sentry. Doesn't matter. They've got 1 kill. Scarapa is going to get pulled right back on in and taken down. It's a double kill for Crowley, and it is 3 more kills overall for the Misfits.
Yeah, and this is really starting to look like a one-sided game. And, you know, again, this kind of goes back into last season was fighting for that important seeding. You know, so it's... Yes, the challenge battles weren't on the line, but you do make it much easier for you to get into a comfortable position. They're doing such a great job. Churnwalker's such a fun hero to watch play. He's able to set up so much just with his... crowd control potential, you know, not even just the trespass. Yanking those chains back in gives so much distance. It allows your Blackfeather to stay a little bit further in the fight. As we obviously know, the Blackfeather changes to Faint of Heart a couple patches ago. Doesn't get that, you know, team-wide movement speed. So getting those hooks down, yanking the enemies back in, does allow Jazville and Curly a little bit more time to get that damage down where the enemies cannot escape.
Misfits, even though they have this massive lead, you need to be a little bit careful because they could run into some damage some issues with this, trying to play the poke game. You know, they do have great poke with the Kestrel and the Blackfeather, but they're still taking a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Crowley, he's going pretty low, but he's going to dive back in under the turret anyway. He's going to fall. That's a big shutdown going over to low-fat yogurt. A lot of gold just secured off that kill. Jeffer also needs to be extremely careful. Very, very low on HP, but they're not going to be able to find him. Instead, low-fat yogurt just gets picked off by this Kestrel. And now Jazville looking for a little bit more with the help of Ellie Peterson. Crystal Sentry's going to rotate on up as the recalls come through for Halcyon. Baboon's Crystal Sentry, though, went a little bit too far and has been eliminated. Jazville is just playing so confident right now with the damage on this Kestrel.
And I think you have to. You can take an enemy hero from 100% to 10% in just a couple of hits. You're probably feeling pretty comfortable throughout most parts of the game, and they're really showing it right now. They did give up that kill, which, as you mentioned, is a sizable amount of shutdown gold. But, you know, it is Misfits starting up another gold miner here. 333 gold payout going on to them. That's going to keep them sizably in the lead ahead of their opponents. As we know, we're right now looking at a 7K gold lead for the side of Misfits.
Yeah, that's a massive lead that they've got built up. Only the 1 kill given over to their opponents in these 12 minutes. Jeffer is getting taken down very low. Gonna get a little bit of speed boost thanks to the Vanguard. is going to be enough to get the team out. The hook does not connect from Ali Peterson, but it doesn't look like they care. They're still going in deep. The root gets dodged. Crowley on the back lines now onto this box, and Low Fat Yogurt's going to fall. Jeffer doing what he can. He gets a lot of damage down, but the fountain comes out from Ali Peterson. Will keep Crowley alive, and that is another kill going over to Misfits. No ace, as Scarpa did get out safely, but this very well should be another turret going down.
Yeah, it absolutely is going to be. They have all of the damage in the world to take these turrets down when they come up. We're only at 13 minutes, so they do not have a Kraken potential, but it isn't going to stop them from making sure that they get every inch of farm that they can in this game, cleaning out the enemy's jungle, with the exception of the backs. Getting those treants, though, keeping experience down is a huge mark on its own. And they're really just keeping a hugely demanding lead as they're approaching a 10,000 gold lead at this point. And at this point in the game, with the Rhyme and the Vox, there is still potential for them to come back, but they have to pick very key and very precise fights. Vox has to be able to ramp up that breaking point if they want to succeed, and there's no Sorrow Blade, so he doesn't have a lot of upfront damage.
And even now, I mean, Jazzville just took Low Fat Yogurt down to about half health. This is a 2-on-3 situation, but the Halcyon Baboons have no idea. They don't know that Crowley was on the other side of the map, and they still can't even go for that fight. It's just too risky. And, you know, Jazzville, he was a player to watch, and showcasing why. You look at the CS difference, a 40 CS lead, and just a few moments ago, it was a 2-level lead. Jazzville was level 12, the only member of the game that was level 12, while Low Fat Yogurt was still only level 10. And that is just humongous. That's an overdrive extra for the side of Misfits that was there. Now we're starting to get everyone up to level 12, but it's still Low Fat Yogurt on 10 is, oh my goodness, just going to get deleted as Jafar. That's a Rhyme. That is a tanky Rhyme just getting blown up. Low Fat Yogurt is quick to fall, and Scarpa this time is not going to be able to escape. It is an ace for Misfits, and they're going to start taking down these objectives and getting into the base.
Yeah, that choke point turret is absolutely huge for their cause. And, you know, we were touching on it a little bit earlier, is the overdrives can be so potent when you have that level advantage. We're going to see if they're able to finish the game here. It looks like it, Bacon.
Yeah, Jazzville's going to be in trouble, but I don't think they're really too concerned because the Crane Crystal is going to fall. Jazzville stays alive until the crystal has exploded, and Misfits just dominating their opponents here as they take game number 1 of this series just in about 15 minutes. Excellent performance from the side of Misfits, and I mean, this is to be expected. This is the number 4 seed taking on the number 29 seed. You expect them to be able to dominate these games, but Misfits just played this so clean.
They absolutely did, and, you know, help us get ready for game number 2, getting into the draft. We'll be heading over to the desk with Dragonborn. So, Dragon, that was a great game to watch.
It was a great first start here to the second split, and Misfits playing really the way they should have been playing, and very well, actually pulling out the Churnwalker as well. And you would have thought that they had been playing Churnwalker for a while. Of course, we all know Churnwalker's fairly new to the fold, and his playstyle and competitive play has really been coming up over just the last weekend after Flash X dominated the week with Churnwalker when nobody else could figure it out. So I'm excited to see Misfits pulling it out. If anything, they might be pulling it out just to also get that practice in to get ready for the later rounds, as Churnwalker could be a very contested pick here throughout the rest of the tournament. You mentioned it as well, Tasty Bacon, just the C Rhyme, which is typically known, not tanky on his stat line, but tanky thanks to the fortified health that he builds up just by doing damage. To go down so fast in these fights, it's just a really good job by Misfits. They had that focus. They knew Rhyme early on in the engagement was going to be a little squishy, and they were able to take him out very quickly and get the job done. We're going to be getting ready, though, for our second matchup, guys, here. Our second game of this first matchup, as Misfits will be taking on Halcyon Baboons for game number 2. So we're going to get into this in just a second here. And I'm guessing, Denominate, that you need a swap, right? Or an invite?
Yeah, I need an invite.
Alright, I see that. Alright, here we go. So we are going to be getting into the second game, Denominate. We just witnessed Misfits. I would say getting the draft that was perfect into Rhyme. You had all that poke. And then Turnwalker is kind of like a poking, where he's really good with the poke as a support because he can help deliver that damage across the entire team. And that really gives someone like Kestrel way more power. And so Rhyme really was never able to get onto the carries and be kind of like that counter, or even as the front line for his team, thanks to Turnwalker able to just reposition that fight so often.
Yeah, that Torment, his B ability, is so useful. When Rhyme's trying to get to that backline, he has a hook on him. You can use your Torment. You can follow it up with a Trespass, getting that stun down. And that locks him up in that front line before he's able to build himself any fortified health.
Right.
And we saw that a lot. Rhyme trying to get to that backline, but because he committed himself so far forward, it just made it so easy for Jazzville and Crowley to blow him up. And, you know, as we get into the rest of the draft here, you know, for draft number 2 at least, it looks like we may be looking at a Catherine ban here. I can see the reason. Oh, they banned the Rhyme away.
Yeah, and Rhyme as a ban makes a lot of sense here because you probably don't want to play it. You didn't actually successfully execute on it, and now your hope was maybe you'd get another power pick, maybe you get the support pick like Catherine. There's a lot of strong support plays here, and I have to imagine Halcyon Baboons will try to, you know, use a flex pick or a support pick here in this first round so they can just get a better idea of what Misfits is going to run. Actually, they go with the Blackfeather pick, and of course this is what they just had to contest with, as well as Kestrel. You know, those are very powerful poke heroes, and it looks like they didn't want to have to go up against those again.
Yeah, it definitely makes a lot of sense, and this does keep some flexibility in your draft as well. Obviously, Blackfeather, we've just seen the Crystal route work. I do think in this particular patch, due to the length of the fights, the weapon Blackfeather tends to come out a little bit on top. It is now a Rona and an Arden here picked for the side of Misfits, and this is actually a really strong combo this patch. Obviously, with the changes to health, Rona's a little bit on the tankier side of all of the heroes right now. When using that Red Mist as well, can get some fortified health. That'll help her also get through an Atlas Pauldron. So typically on weapon carries, you want to get an Atlas Pauldron down on them. It's not quite as useful against the Rona, so it is now a Grace picked up, and with this Blackfeather, again, these longer fights do favor Blackfeather's playstyle. This is a beautiful setup coming out of the Baboons here. Ooh, I'm not sure I'm in love with the Samuel, though.
Well, it looks like they just wanted to do that weapon carry Blackfeather lane, and I do like how Grace will really make Rhoda think about how she decides to go into the fray when they start those fights. It's, you know, you can't just you know, willy-nilly use your Red Mist when you've got a Grace there to Holy Nova that and you'll stop it right in its tracks. But I love what Misfits have done with the Alpha pick here, because Alpha will be able to get through the front line, get onto either Blackfeather or even onto Samuel, while Rona's kind of just dishing out, kind of as a distraction. And I think this is a really good combination. The other thing too is Rona's looks like it's going to be moved into the lane position, so this weapon Rona can be absolutely a tormentor when it comes to some of those short range heroes like Blackfeather, because she can just completely jump on you and disengage very quickly. Kind of hard to stay on her very for a long period of time. Rona also, I mean, and Rona's like Glaive in that way, Denominate, where, you know, she's a melee hero, but she has a lot of tanking and bruising capability, and she's really able to get in, do a lot of attacks, get the CS, and then jump out with her into the fray. So, with that, though, we are about ready to get going into this game here in just a few seconds. So, any last words, Denominate, before we jump right in?
Now, it should be a fun one to line up. I'm really liking that we see Alpha coming back into the meta, so should be a strong matchup here. Again, that Blackfeather very powerful, but Misfits looking absolutely great this season.
All right, well, we're going to kick it off to our casters, Denominate, and of course, Tasty Bacon, to take us into the fold.
All right, thank you very much, Dragonborn. Scarab going to be trying to ambush the members of Misfits, but the 2v1, he does steal away both of these double camp monsters, so it does get something for it. The Misfits just choosing to ignore him, actually, and say, you know what, we're not too concerned about this. We don't want to go for the fight. Instead, we're just going to take our jungle camps that we can get. Now, the Ancient Treant is going to be worked on here by Halcyon Baboons. Jazzville going to look to try and get in there to steal. It doesn't get there in time. Instead tries to turn his attention to Scarpa, and Misfits not able to get that either. So good start here for the side of Halcyon Baboons as they take the Ancient Treant. They get a couple of jungle monsters stolen away from Misfits and can now start the early stage of this game with a little bit of a lead.
Yeah, great lead for them. This is kind of about the same situation we saw Misfits take at the beginning of last game. They were able to get that Treant. They were able to push through. Based off of that first invade, they netted themselves a 500 gold lead, and that's right where the Baboons are right now. So they've got to be feeling pretty comfortable. They're obviously keeping their morale up after that pretty upsetting loss in that first game, just 15 minutes. But, that's really one of the biggest things about being a competitive player here is keeping that morale up, staying positive, and looking towards the next game.
Yeah, and I tell you, just from the amount of time I spent in Eastwards, that's actually sometimes a good thing. As we get another little bit of a skirmish, it's going to be Low-Fat Yogurt able to back away safely, has to use the healing flask though. But when you just get rolled over like that, those games are actually sometimes easier to move past than a long drawn-out game where you came back, you almost had a chance to win, but you just weren't able to solidify it. Because at least this one, you get rolled and you're just like, okay, whatever, let's just forget about it. That was just a bad game. You can kind of just reset yourself mentally a little bit easier oftentimes. Crowley going to be jumping back in onto Jeffer. He's very, very low, but does have that reboot available. Jeffer, he's going to get taken down pretty low. Lots of damage from the Prime Directive, but here comes Scarpa. Nice Holy Nova for the double stun, and Jeffer is going to be knocking Alpha into that reboot. Crowley will go down. Scarpa taking that kill. Now Ali Peterson going to be in some trouble as well. Low-Fat Yogurt looks to rotate down, doesn't get there in time, but it's 2 kills going over to the Halcyon Baboons. Excellent start for them this time around.
Yeah, unfortunately it was Scarpa getting one of those kills, so, we talked about it a little bit earlier. You want to focus that gold onto your carries, but, 2 kills, it's 2 kills at this point in the game, so definitely a great start for the Baboons. Jazzville's getting dropped very low, but will use the Into the Fray to get out of the fray. That's going to keep him alive. We obviously have had some changes to Book of Eulogies in the recent patches as well. Recent updates as well, so not quite as much healing out of those. It is a little bit harder to sustain in the lane as a weapon carry in this patch.
And it's definitely can be. Obviously, if that little sustain you can get is absolutely wonderful, though, because of the fact that it is so much more difficult. So, as of right now, they're pushing in up underneath this turret. Low-Fat Yogurt is going to be able to clear out these minions pretty effectively. Doesn't lose too much health. Nice stun from Scarpa to keep Misfits at bay. And you've got Jeffer coming through the lane to help defend if the members of Misfits had decided to stick around, which they did not. So things going to reset again a little bit. Low-Fat Yogurt can go back to base, make a couple more purchases. Had a good amount, has a little bit over 2,000 gold to spend. And so is going to be coming back to lane significantly stronger with that heavy steel and the barbed needle. Will be able to continue to survive against Jazzville and try and close the gap on that CS lead that is starting to accrue.
Yeah, it's still not a huge lead. We are sitting at 1,000 at just 5 minutes, so it's a great start for the Baboons. But, as this game gets later on, as Crowley gets that termination protocol, off, Jazzville taking a bit of damage here in the lane. Aftershock is now complete for Crowley, so this is where the alpha will really start to spike as the Drifting Dart is used. It'll be down in just a second, and this is a good opportunity for Misfits to actually get a counter engage going, knowing that ability's down. Doesn't look like they're quite going to make it, though.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, but they just don't feel like they're able to pull the trigger yet. Even though they have the Aftershock completed on Crowley, it's a lot of damage. It's a huge spike for this alpha. Now they're going in. They're getting a ton of damage onto Jeffer. He does get himself out safely. The red mist is spinning. Not doing enough damage, though. Crowley just feels like he can't get involved deeply enough in these team fights for them to really commit onto the back lines. But there they go, jumping on in again. Great positioning from Jazzville to make sure the red mist hits these carries. Scarpa getting stuck on the front lines, but still not going down. Still no kills going over in this fight. And Crowley, with the termination protocol, is actually going to find the kill before he even explodes. Will be able to get back up safely in that brush. And now the members of Halcyon Baboons. I'm used to Boosted Baboons. That was a great team name. But they are going to be having to run away a little bit. Low Fat Yogurt takes down to about half health, but defends the turret for the time being.
Yeah, keeping that turret alive is absolutely huge. We are still at a 2-to-1 kill game. The gold lead's still 1,000 in the favor of the Baboons. But that could have changed very, very quickly if, if the side of Misfits would have found an additional kill there. They almost certainly would have been able to push that turret down. Drifted Dark is down, and Ali Peterson is very hurt.
Both of these teams being so aggressive, constantly looking for these fights. Ali is so low. Ekka's going to be the Oblivion, not quite going to be connecting. Nice job getting out of that AoE by the side of Misfits. Still very low health pools except for Crowley, so this turret is going to be under siege very heavily. Trying to defend it right now, looking to just wait as long as they can to get health back. There are the Misfits. That's Crowley going in. Doesn't have the ultimate available just yet. It is going to be able to pop it now if they want to, but Jafar is already down. Great job by the Misfits to re-engage this just when it looked like they were not going to be able to defend this turret. The fountain comes through, and now they're diving the enemy turret instead. The Holy Nova doesn't connect because of the kill, and it's an ace for the Misfits. A ton of work going to be done on this turret. It will be destroyed. Misfits finding their opportunities.
Yeah, Misfits picking off a little bit of lack of positioning from the side of the Baboons. What was really key about that last fight, though, was Ali Peterson held that fountain for so long. Very low on health herself. Did get it to the best effect onto Jazzville and to Crowley. And that's really key as far as discipline goes for these captains. Both fountains were up, as well as Grace hit level 6 just before that fight. Even the Divine Intervention was not enough to save them, and the staggered death timers, they picked off Samuel early, and then they turret dove, and it gave them enough time to take down that turret, get some jungle objective control, but they're not done!
A great prime directive from Crowley, getting the kill onto Scarapa, and without the Grace, this is very, very risky for the side of Halcyon Baboons to stick around. Crowley going in deep as well. He's going to go low, but he has the ultimate available now and can get back into this fight comfortably as they find some more damage onto Jeffer. The red mist is going to take him down. Low Fat Yogurt has nowhere to go. He tries to jump to the gold miner, but a prime directive chases him down, and Misfits are just finding everything all of a sudden after a relatively slow first 4 to 5 minutes for them, where Halcyon Baboons were able to find opportunities. It is just all swinging the other direction now.
Yeah, Crowley has been excellent with these prime directives. That last fight, it was Grace that went to use Divine Intervention onto Samuel, and she used it at just the wrong time. If she would have waited a second, I think she would have stepped out of that prime directive. So unfortunately, it does give Crowley a perfect engagement tool from all the way at the jungle shop. So he's got to be feeling good about that. That was a lot of distance closed. Obviously, with the overdrive now on that prime directive, you do get that additional range. So that is huge for the distance that an alpha can close. And she definitely needs it, as this is a pretty heavy dive composition they have together. Obviously, Rona will be able to use into the fray. Prime directive can come out of Crowley. We'll have a gauntlet and a vanguard that can allow Ali Peterson to get into position, and as well as limit the positioning the enemy is allowed to do. Even if we don't get the greatest gauntlet, because you do have 2 melee carries, when you do Vanguard in, you'll give it a little additional slow onto all enemies that get hit by that Vanguard, and that is a beautiful utility when you do have this kind of dive-style composition.
It really is, and Misfits starting to play much more aggressively with their positioning, pushing up into the lane, trying to get the Halcyon Baboons to follow them just a little bit further away from those turrets so they can re-engage. They're just going to start clearing out these jungle camps, though, saying, if you're not willing to come try and fight us, we're just going to take everything off the map. Crystal Sentry will be defeated. And now, Halcyon Baboons, they're pushed up pretty far. This is a risky spot for them because here come the Misfits just walking their way up to the lane. Although, Crowley taking the long way around, Misfits just going to be losing out on this turret because of some nice pushing by the Halcyon Baboons. Can they get out of here now? Excellent gauntlet for a double stun. And meanwhile, on the back lines, Crowley is getting onto Low Fat Yogurt. One kill's already come through. Low Fat Yogurt doing what he can. Will get the Divine Intervention, but another Prime Directive is going to catch him. Gets over the wall with the Rose Offensive, and a second Divine Intervention will allow this Black Feather to get out safely. And Scarapa is able to retreat as well. So one kill in trade for a turret. Not too bad for the side of Halcyon Baboons, but now they need to be wary of losing out on a turret of their own. The fight is on. Oblivion comes out, gets dodged away from Crowley. Still has the ultimate. Jazzville is just on this turret, being ignored. Takes the turret down. Crowley is gonna be going down shortly. No, gets the fountain to heal him back up and can continue to fight. Still hasn't used the ultimate, and they've got 2 kills. Jeffer trying to do what he can. Crowley is going low. Still hasn't used the Termination Protocol and isn't gonna need to, as that is an ace for Misfits. They are just taking everything now.
Yeah, and that was an insane amount of healing onto Crowley there. The barrier coming out of the Vanguard, the fountain came out, and then just after the fountain was used, Crowley still had that healing flask in pocket, did launch that item as well, giving that additional 30% of total health, healing, and barrier. Gave him so much survivability that the Termination Protocol wasn't needed whatsoever in the fight. And you gotta figure, that is a lot of damage that Alpha is able to output with that ability. So the fact that they were able to so convincingly win a fight without using it, it doesn't look good for the Baboons at this point.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, that can sometimes hit for 1,000. There was a gold mine stolen, but at what cost now as the gauntlet comes down? Secures 1 kill. Low Fat Yogurt gets out of the gauntlet with the Rose Offensive. Jeffer gets his recall canceled, and a Prime Directive will chase them on through. Jeffer's gonna go down. Can Low Fat Yogurt escape? Doesn't have a charge of that ultimate, but is not going to need one. So gold mine stolen, but they lose out on 2 kills as a result. And now Misfits can just continue to ramp up this pressure. That at least was a silver lining there for the members of Halcyon Baboons, but you have to wonder, how long is that realistically going to stall this game out for?
You know, I almost want to say it's a fair trade. The 2 kills at this point, 400 gold going over to the side of Misfits, as opposed to the 1,200 you took for your own team. And because of the situation of your turrets, oh, hold on, Scarapa!
A little too far forward. Will be able to avoid the Prime Directive, but this Crystal Sentry is going to be eliminated. They're trying to poke harass. Oh, Prime Directive just narrowly catches on to the Samuel. Divine Intervention 1 already used, and he's going to be falling. Scarapa is going to be dropping as well. Won't even get to use that second Divine Intervention. Low Fat Yogurt 1v3. This is a must-have defense, but it's going to be so incredibly difficult. It's not likely to happen. Low Fat's just trying to take out these minions so that the turrets get their barrier back. Will be successful in that effort and will be able to hold on to this final Vein Crystal turret.
Yeah, not a great spot to be in if you are the Halcyon Baboons. I was just getting ready to say it's not too terrible that they did lose out on those 2 kills for the gold mine because of the lane minions not being in a position that Misfits could really push. That can't be the same thing said for that second set of 2 kills Misfits found. The wave was already pushed up to the choke point. They were able to push in and get one of those Vein Crystal turrets down. That was a beautiful push out of Misfits. They all make it out alive. They're in a great spot, 6,000 gold ahead at this point. Rona is almost at full build, has a level 12 infusion. Curly has the Broken Myth, the Aftershock, and now the Aegis complete as well. So it's going to be very difficult to stop this Kraken that's being started up by Misfits. They're going to take it very quickly based on the single target damage that this lineup offers. And Allie Peterson poking her head out, making sure the enemies are not coming. They're going to take this one probably for free at this point. No contest, and now I think this is pretty much the end of the game, unless if you believe in miracles. And let me tell you, Bacon, I'm not one believing in the miracles right now.
Yeah, not right now, especially with Scarapa getting caught out. It's a 3-on-2 with Kraken pushing. Obviously, Misfits gonna be able to look to try and finish here. It is going to be what Dragon's Eye picked up for Jeffer, but I don't think he's going to get to stack that too heavily as the fight is on. Double gauntlet even into the Sanctuary. Lopat Yogurt doing what he can, stacking up, gets on into the base. Misfits just diving into the fountain and even going to survive that. All 3 members on the fountain, and they still survive. They still have the Kraken coming. They get the ace. They get the game. They get the series. Misfits will be moving on with 2 commanding victories over Halcyon Baboon.
Absolutely great plays out of Misfits today. It's so nice to see the Misfits organization back with a winning roster and doing absolute work. Again, this is a pretty sizable seeding difference, but just looking at their coordination throughout this game, looking at the team-wide plays they were able to set up, I have to say, if you're Misfits, you're pretty happy with your pickup here off the back of last season, and you've got to be excited looking forward as you're very likely going to be finding yourself pretty far in split number 2 here.
Yeah, most likely going to be making a pretty deep run. They looked extremely strong in this first matchup. It'll be very interesting to see just how far they are going to be able to go.
And to help close out that series and get us ready for the next one and introduce you to the teams, we'll be heading over the desk with Dragonborn.
Hey, thanks to Domine. Thanks, Tasty Bacon. That was an exciting one. Those first 3 minutes were really looking dire for Misfits. The early game was not in their favor. Of course, they go with that all melee composition to Domine, and we see this come out every so often when you can take away some of those counters to the melee, like the Rhyme, and when you also know you're going into the lane with like a Black Feather. The Black Feather is going to have that limited range, especially early. You can kind of risk it. And then, of course, late game, Rona and Alpha become very difficult to manage. They're very tanky. There's so much sustain on that roster. And, of course, Arden's gauntlets, the Domine, they lock everybody up in that gauntlet, and they're forcing the enemy team to fight them when it's really the advantage that they have with that melee composition, with those close proximity fights. So great job by Misfits. They had to kind of wait a few minutes before their composition really got lit and was able to help them push it over the edge. We're going to be getting ready for our second series, everybody, but before then, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, folks, because after this, our next matchup is definitely going to be an exciting one as well, as we stay here in the round of 16 after the break.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at the VIS desk getting you guys into our second series of tonight. And of course, you guys are watching the Challenger Series here at split number 2 as these teams here, the Challenger Series, work their way to the challenge battles. It all comes down to this. And this is actually going to be the last attempt for a team to be able to qualify for the top 8 teams here and make it into relegation for the rest of the year, as the autumn season will conclude the year right before the World Championship. And the teams that do qualify for the Vainglory 8 at the end of this season will be in the Vainglory 8 next season, which is going to be definitely an exciting transition for the esports community, as a lot of changes will be coming down the pipeline. We are here, though, going to get you guys into the next matchup. Of course, joining me tonight, the nominee to help break down some of these games. And let's actually get right into this next matchup, as we really have a pretty exciting one. It is a 9-seed Tribe Gaming versus a 24-seed Powerpuff Grills. But, you know, we've seen it time and time again, Denominate, that these lower-seeded teams have become better and stronger. They prepare more for these other teams. And so the difference in their ranking, in their preseason ranking, is much smaller than what we've seen in past seasons, and it's really come to the front where a lot of these teams like Tribe Academy have to come into this matchup taking it very seriously.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and I do want to touch on one big change to the Tribe Academy roster here. They do pick up Supershot, who is one of the subs from Echo Fox, and historically when we've seen him play, he has played absolutely amazing, especially on picks like the Jewel is one of his favorites. So that's kind of a neat pickup for them here. You know, they are the 9-seed team, but we've also seen good performances out of Laid to Rest. He was actually my player to watch several times last season. I don't know a whole lot about the Powerpuff Grills. I've run into a couple of them sometimes in solo queue. Maybe the names look pretty familiar, but you know, as far as a competitive scene, I can't say too much about them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times this is what happens with some of these lower seeded teams is, you know, we don't have a lot of information. This actually gives them an edge. They are kind of the dark horse. They are the underdogs, and they can oftentimes use that to their advantage and try to take, you know, leverage that as they get into as they try to get into the higher seeds here. One thing I will mention, I do want to highlight as we get right into this match, is our player to watch, Denominate. It's got to be Laid to Rest. This guy has come up, you know, being on some of these smaller, lower seeded teams, and worked his way to be one of, you know, the more respected challenger players, being a professional player for multiple organizations, and, you know, being more and more consistent. He's improved his hero pool, he's improved his mechanics, and now he's at a point where, you know, people going into him, they really do respect. He can play the lane and the jungle positions, so he is a threat, and one that, as we get into this tournament, if you're going up against Tribe Academy, you really have to do your research, do your homework, and take very seriously.
Yeah, definitely a huge concept here. You know, it's really fun to see some of these players that we, you know, start down at the bottom. We really see them rise up to fame. We'll have to see what they're able to do here. Obviously, Supershot going to be coming onto Tribe as a starting player. So we've seen Laid to Rest play in both the lane and in the jungle. So I have to say, with Supershot on the team, it's probably going to be Laid to Rest returning to the jungle. When we've seen Supershot play in the past, it's usually on the kind of bruiser lane matchups. Maybe not prepared for the draft there, as we don't have a ban from Tribe. I'm not sure the technical ruling on this one, Dragon.
Well, the technical ruling is that they do not get a ban. I don't really think this hurts them. You really look at, like, from a first pick perspective, the B side is going to have a strong pick. It's not double ban. I would say it would hurt them more in double ban. But single ban drafting during the first 2 weeks of Challengers, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. We will have to see, though. I mean, it's possible. We'll have to see, because if Supershot actually didn't load into the game, that could be a big deal. But look, he's there. Picks the Arden up. And with the Black Feather Band, you still have Catherine and Rhyme available. And we could actually see both of these go over to Powerpuff Girls. They're looking to either Lyra for the support pick instead. That's a pretty strong healer, and into the Arden, it's not a bad pick. You know, Blood for Blood, and as well as the Vanguard, is a lot of engage that you can actually cancel out with the Bulwark. And they're actually looking to follow that up possibly with just some, you know, strong range presence, either Vox or Kestrel here with that poke. And they're actually taking a considerable... They go with the Kestrel, so they do want the poke. I guess that's a little risky with Catherine still not picked. You could see Catherine flexed in the carry position, and that would do a great job countering this Kestrel. I guess with the Catherine banned, that Kestrel pick would have been a slam dunk. But now Tribe's going to sit here and think about it, how they want to go up against the Kestrel here. They have to pick their jungler to nominate. There's a lot of choices still left on the board. And they go with the Rhyme. So Rhyme still picked here. You're likely not going to see Catherine, right, Denominate? Or Lyra could be the carry, because with Rhyme now, there's not a lot of crowd control that's going to put Rhyme in his place.
There's not, and I think this is a pretty obvious Krull pickup here for the Powerpuff Grills. Krull really has an easy time shutting down Rhyme so long as you don't let Rhyme really control the early game. And also, we saw it a bit earlier, is Rhyme, when he's in that front line, he gets locked up before he's able to make it onto, in this case, it is going to be the Kestrel. It becomes very, very difficult for him to build up that fortified health. He can kind of be a sitting duck in that front line, but with the Arden, it should give him a little bit of additional move speed, should give him obviously that additional barrier. It's all going to come down to laid to rest and how he's able to make the engagements. And then as we get to that level 6 mark, obviously needing to get those good gauntlets out of Arden as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are going to be very pivotal as we get into this matchup, and we are ready to jump right into it. So I am going to kick it over to our casters, Denominate and Tasty Bacon, to take us down into the fold. Guys, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, and we are on to the fold for game number 2 of this night's broadcast. I guess would be the best way to word it, but it is Tribe Academy taking on the Powerpuff Grills and Denominate. Some interesting drafts there, but like you said, this is one that could be difficult for the Powerpuff Girls because they don't really have that hard CC to try and prevent a Rhyme from just rushing into your face and getting that fortified health built up.
Yeah, and keeping Rhyme shut down through a majority of this game is going to be the biggest thing they need to do. Yes, Vox can be that kind of hyper carry late game, even with only 3 offensive items. Looking down here in the jungle, we have a start on this Treant here, but it is going to go over to the Powerpuff Grills. Getting that onto, I believe, the Krull. Yeah, the Krull did secure that one, so trying to get him to the later game portion of the game. I am a little interested to see what exact route they end up taking as far as the Krull build here. Obviously, with the changes of the health, it does make Tension Bow maybe not feel quite as strong, even though it did get a little bit of a buff in the hotfix. It's still very difficult to run in this patch particularly, so I can see it being a Bonesaw first as they are going double weapon now.
Yeah, and while that was going on, even though Powerpuff Girls did get the Ancient Treant, Super Shot was just up in the lane the entire time. He didn't even go down to the jungle to try and help out with that. So he's got himself a nice little lead in terms of the CS over Ultia. I'll actually have to double check if it's Ultia or Ultia once this game is done. But for now, it's a 3-on-3 skirmish. They're going on to Zephyrus, and they're going to be finding a lot of damage with Pool getting taken down pretty low as well. So is Super Shot eating that Winter Spire. Now Kestrel with these Glimmer Shots. They first kill. The second kill is going to get now traded back and laid to rest, looking to try and find one more and make this a 2-for-2. But the Kestrel active camo stun's going to connect. Is it going to be enough to get laid to rest at bay, though? Still chasing down, but no energy to throw out another Winter Spire. Doesn't need it as laid to rest makes this a 2-for-2 trade. And he's looking for more. He's not done. Has the energy for a Winter Spire if he wants it, but doesn't need it. Again, just able to stick to his target and find that kill. Now Zephyrus on this curl looking to re-engage into the fight. Maybe take down this Ancient Treant, and he will be able to snag that one again. So a hectic first few minutes of this game to nominate.
Yeah, crazy first couple minutes. It does end up being 3 kills going over to Tribe Academy. 2 do go over to the Powerpuff Grills, but You know, they've also gotten those treants, so even though there's an additional kill on the side of Tribe, there's not a whole lot of net gold gain in their favor. It is Super Shot taking a pretty big lead in the lane as well. We are sitting at 31 to 22 right now in the lane matchup, but looking down into the jungle, thanks to those Elder Treants, it is Zephyrus taking a little bit of an edge over Rhyme. And again, this is great for them that they're shutting down the Rhyme CS early, but Laid to Rest found all 3 kills, which is going to be a big burst of gold in his pocket regardless.
Yeah, Pool gonna have to run away here. When, you know, that CS lead in the lane, yes, it is pretty significant for now, but you can see it's already getting closed up as Zephyrus just goes right under the turret and finds a kill. It's also, that CS lead is also a little bit misleading though, because again, at the start of the game, Ultia was in the jungle getting that passive gold, the ambient gold from clearing out the camps with Zephyrus, while Supershot was up in the lane. So Ultia was still getting gold, even though they weren't getting the actual CS numbers. So it's not as much of an issue as it looks like initially. As you can see, they're going to be going back up into this lane in order to make sure that there's not too much pressure able to be put on by the side of Tribe Academy. And Just April is going to be having to get out of the situation, does speed themselves up and get back up into the lane underneath the turret in order to help defend. Meanwhile, Zephyrus clearing out the jungle to make sure that they stay on pace. You don't want to fall too far behind in this early going, and right now they're doing a great job of making sure that they aren't. They actually have a slight gold lead over the members of Tribe Academy.
Yeah, they do, and that goes back to the fact that you were mentioning earlier. They've been doing a good job sharing ambient gold, which is a wonderful way to keep that gold on your carries and really manage your gold correctly. And you do a lot of, you know, obviously you're on the desk for the VG8 Tasty Bacon. How do you feel about the Shatterglass first on the Rhyme, and then going into a second item, do you like the Dragon's Eye second? Or is there another route you'd like to see on a Laid to Rest here? I personally want to see some upgraded boots come out of Laid to Rest very quickly.
Yeah, the upgrade boots are so important. We've seen a lot of the successful Rhymes do that, but Zephyrus survives the initial burst and gets back in with the From Hell's Heart. Now they're finding some damage on the Pool, but not going to be enough. Laid to Rest is finding himself some more kills, and that's going to be one to Supershot as well. Ultia trying to just save off this turret is not going to be able to keep it alive as the turret goes down in favor of Tribe Academy. Finding a couple of kills, and that objective is going to get them with the gold lead swinging back in their favor.
Yeah, not only the gold lead from getting this turret, it is a huge objective advantage as well. That first turret is the most important one for keeping your laner safe. So having that down, Ultia, yes, does have the range coming out on Kestrel, the range advantage over the Vox, but with the fact that Arden is almost level 6, is going to have that gauntlet soon, and there's no reflex block on Kestrel yet unless she picks one up here at the shop, it is kind of dangerous to stick yourself out that far. No reflex block. It is going to be an upgraded Lucky Strike there. So if the side of Tribe Academy sees this, they know they can get a guaranteed lockdown on Ultia here.
Now, are they going to have the opportunity to Pool going very low? I don't know if that's really the target you want to be focusing, though, for the side of Powerbuff Girl. Zephyrus is going to be going so low. Reflex block just delays the inevitable as he goes down, and now it's a 2-on-3 situation. And Pool is just more than happy to soak up all of this damage for his teammates. That's exactly what this Arden wants to be doing, and Powerpuff Girl is just unable to actually find that kill. Puts them in a very bad situation now as the second turret going to get pressured a little bit, but in the meantime, more importantly, their jungle and the Crystal Sentry getting taken away by Tribe Academy.
And that Crystal Sentry is actually a pretty sizable amount of gold that does get split between the hero that does take the last hit, as well as whoever, in most cases, it is the captain that gets that ambient gold. You know, nets you over 200, as well as getting that first life down. You're one step closer to having that jungle objective cleared out. It does give you a little bit more favor when being able to roam the map. You obviously don't have to worry about that extra carry on the enemy's team, especially if a team minion candies that Crystal Sentry. It can do absolutely absurd amounts of damage, as well as provide that slow and, you know, any utility that you can get on a team that has a curl up. Here we go.
That's going to be a big engagement starting up, but it's again Zephyrus, the one who will be first to fall as he just goes down way too quickly to have the level of impact they need. Pool blocks the active camo trap and just continues chasing with the rest of the team. They're going underneath the turret. How long are they going to be willing to stay? Not terribly long as they try and break this aggro so that they can get damage onto the turret itself and re-engage. It's exactly what they do. Get that turret destroyed. Now I'm Just April in some trouble. Here comes Zephyrus respawned, but without the captain there and with Ulcha being pretty low as well, they're not going to be able to find anything. And this is Tribe Academy starting to run away with this one.
Yeah, they are. And what was unfortunate about that last fight was Zephyrus, as far as the target it landed on, had a really good From Hell's Heart. He weaved it right past Pool on this Arden, who was trying to get in the way of it. Did find Super Shot with the stun, but that's not the only real note we have to make of it. It was a good stun onto Super Shot. It was a pretty long distance, so the stun was longer. But at the same time, you have to recognize when your team is not in position to capitalize on it. And now Tribe, no fear, start up the gold mine and are turfing on and creating a fight.
Yeah, they're generating this fight, forcing the members of Powerpuff Girls to have to respawn. Gauntlet over the wall as they look for this final kill, which again, gonna have the active camo trap blocked. It's a triple kill for Super Shot, and this is Tribe really just throwing their weight around now as they can take a choke point turret perhaps with Super Shot pushing it with the Ace Buff minions. They're going to get that gold miner for sure. And it is going to be a massive gold lead when this is all said and done. Super Shot does get stunned by the From Hell's Heart. Is that going to be enough for a kill to go back the way of Powerpuff Girls? The Spectral Smite will secure that one, and we'll at least get something back the way of Powerpuff Girls. But one kill for everything that they just lost is not worth it.
Not at all. And with a 5,500 gold lead for the side of Tribe right now, Vox as far ahead as he is. 3 offensive items complete: the Poison Shiv, the Sorrow Blade, the Tension Bow, as well as a Metal Jacket already will provide him a lot of defense against all of the weapon damage coming out of the side of the Powerpuff Girls. But not only that, there is no piercing at all on a double weapon composition. So their ability to find damage onto Super Shot is going to be midgetated incredibly heavily, as it is now Lyra getting caught out.
Yeah, Lyra caught out, taking a ton of damage, is going to fall. Zephyrus will get silenced as they continue this chase. They've split the team. Super Shot is actually going very, very low, but he's still going to be able to find the kill regardless. And now, Laid to Rest is going to try and chase down this Krull. The Winter Spires starting to do some work, but his 8 weakness stacks are really kind of preventing Laid to Rest from being able to do too much damage. Valkyrie is not going to get a stun, but it will allow the root to connect. With the weakness stacks worn off, it is another kill for Tribe Academy. I'm Just April is back up, so there is no ace, but I'm Just April also cannot do anything to prevent that choke point turret from falling. Tribe Academy, a 7,000 gold lead and then some as they take down this Sentry, eliminate it from the match, and they can now just continue to starve out their opponents in the jungle.
Yeah, sweeping another jungle rotation out. You know, Laid to Rest is now at 77 CS as a jungler, over 5 a minute, where is essentially perfect as a jungler. So it just goes to show you how effective he is being. And, you know, when Rhyme gets this far ahead, he did go with the Journey boots, and this is what I talked about earlier with the upgraded boots. Hold on here.
That's going to be a big engagement there, but can they find the damage? This is going to be Powerpuff Girls, maybe a last stand type of situation, because they are in dire straits. Lots of weakness stacks onto the Vox, but uses the Spectral Smite, and that's going to allow Super Shot to finish off these 2 kills, and looking for another triple, will be able to take it. Tribe Academy, now with these Ace Buff minions, they may very well just look to end the game here and now. Only 13 minutes in, and they are on to these turrets. One is going to fall. Respawns are going to start coming through here as they take the second turret down, but it's just not going to matter. They can turn their attention onto the Bane Crystal, and Tribe Academy in 13 minutes will find themselves a victory in game number 1.
A beautiful play there coming out of Tribe, and then the shot calling, recognizing we have the damage, we have the minion wave to just push and end the game here. Great capitalization, super shot coming through, absolutely huge. 10, 2, and 3 on this Vox, but we got to give a lot of credit to Laid to Rest and Pool, who set up such great fights for Super Shot to take advantage of. They were able to lock down the Kroll, keep him off of the backline pretty consistently. Kroll did get in, and then they were able to lock him up, separate Vox from that incoming damage, and they were able to push fights then and then again. So, to help us break down that game maybe a little bit more and then get us ready for game number 2, we're going to be heading back to the desk with the beautiful Dragonborn.
Well, wouldn't call me beautiful, but I will say very impressed with just overall how Tribe played that first game. I mean, they need, these lower seeded teams can pose a threat, but it's really important if you're going to come into this split as a dominant team, you've got to show that you can beat some of these lower seeded teams really well. You got to be able to just absolutely win one-sided. It can't be very close. You can't show weaknesses because that's going to haunt you through the rest of the tournament. And one team that may have shown some weaknesses a lot sooner than we expected, it is the Kardashians. We do have a slight upset alert as the Kardashians did lose 2-0 to the 32nd team, Team Hazard. And that is a massive surprise. I don't think any of us could have expected that, Denomine.
I'm pretty disappointed right now, actually. I was putting my money on Kardashians to go all the way, but they still have a chance. They can go through the losers bracket, work their way back up to the end. It is a little bit unsettling having one of your lifelines down that early. But, again, we've touched on it time and time again, right, of just how close the competition has gotten. And this is literally a 32 seed taking down the #1 seed in the first round. If I was a betting man, I would have lost.
It has never happened in Challengers to have a first seed lose the first round, so this would be a first. Kind of a crazy turn of events, that's for sure. But hey, we've got another matchup still in front of us, and that, of course, is Tribe Academy, and they are looking to finish off the series strong and get into this next matchup, in this next game here, as they face off against their opponents. And we'll actually be trying to get you guys into that right now. So Powerpuff Girls, a few things to talk about, Denomine, as far as how they played, is Powerpuff Girls, they did play fairly well. The challenge really was that the rhyme was just, it was not really countered in the draft, it seemed. And you go into this matchup, you leave rhyme on the board. Ironically, Tribe did ban anything, so that actually made Powerpuff Girls in a tough situation where they're now forced to only get the one ban in the game. Everything else is open market, and they didn't take the rhyme. So that just seemed like, a missed opportunity for them. It looks like they maybe didn't have an answer on how to play the rhyme, so they ultimately felt to avoiding it was best.
Yeah, and we're getting ready to get us into the draft here, guys. We're just waiting on one player to come back in. As you mentioned, it is kind of an interesting strategy to not ban something away on A side. I want to lean on the fact that it was just an accident. There's enough power picks on the board that you can take something off that you don't want to go into and then still be guaranteed to get one of those incredibly strong picks very early. So it has its ups and downs, I guess. But, again, Laid to Rest on that rhyme did have a great performance. I do think upgrading those boots early is the way to go. It helps you get into that back line, make those engagements. Your boots can be up multiple times in a fight. And they just played it so incredibly well that, after those first couple minutes where it did look like the Powerpuff Girls or Grills were doing pretty well, they had a pretty decent start with a small gold lead. That changed very quickly in favor of the side of Tribe. They were able to find, one pick here, one pick there, and then it was finding fight after fight after fight. So I have to be leaning in the favor of Tribe Academy going into game number 2 here.
Oh, absolutely. The mechanical skill definitely was on display by Tribe. They did a great job there. I think that although the drafting was a little bit wonky, they got the picks they needed that were really just not able, were able to outscale Powerpuff Girls. Also, the Lyra pick was fascinating because with the Rhyme, the Lyra does not offer really any of that counter engage that you kind of would expect to see when you're picking a Lyra that you'd maybe have on the other team. And right now, heal compositions haven't been shown to be as dominant as they were in the past metas. Rhyme is going to be the ban, though. Powerpuff Girls, they do not want to have to run into that again, as that was a pick that we saw Tribe no problem playing. They do ban Alpha, which is another long-sustained late-game hero that has started to just really become dominant in 2.9.
Yeah, the amount of health that she has in this update makes it very easy for her to sustain very long in a fight. She can then use the termination protocol and then essentially revive herself with a large portion of health, which makes her a very devastating adversary, as well as because of the changes to health and shield, the damage that you get out of the Aftershock proc, which is one of Alpha's core items, you actually deal more damage per proc of the Aftershock because you're not negating as much with your base defense. And then because it's a percentage of health, yes, it's still the same percent that it's based off of, but because the number is larger, it does do more number damage. So far, we see the Grace and the Rona. I think this pairs very similarly together than the Rhyme and the Arden we saw.
Yeah. This is actually great because there's no Catherine. They picked Arden first. There's no stun for the Rona, and now you have a Grace on that team as well to keep the Rona alive. That's a really deadly duo based on how Powerpuff Girls drafted.
Yeah, it is, and we do see the Reza come out here, and I do think the Reza can be a safe pick into the Grace and the Rona, specifically if you're saving your Troublemaker for those kind of sticky situations. But it is now a Taka coming out for late to rest. Going to be a Crystal Taka in the jungle with the lane Rona on Super Shot. And again, Rona kind of similar to the Jewel in the sense that she's a very kind of upfront bruiser, and that's where Super Shot really excels the most. Just had a great performance on Vox, but historically his comfort has been on those melee aggressive laners, the Glaives, the Jewels, the Ronas. So it is going to be fun to see him on that super dive-heavy hero at this point in the game.
Well, we're going to be seeing it here in just a few moments as we jump into this game denominator. So I'm going to just kick it down to you and Tasty Bacon to take us into the fold, to get us into the action.
All right, thank you very much, Dragonborn. Game number 2 underway. We'll see if this Reza pick will be enough to get Powerpuff Girls a win in this series, or if it will just be Tribe Academy taking a 2-0. And right now, again, early game start, you see the 2 carries of Tribe dueling up for the jungle. Same thing happening on the other side of the fold. Both of the captains going to meet around the middle and recognize that this is what's happening and start to back away. Having Pool go up into the lane just to secure that little bit of experience and gold. Make sure those minions don't go to waste. Now going to rotate down, maybe try and find a steal, maybe just try and harass before the rest of the team gets here. But no, they're just going to back off. And now it's a 3-on-2 numbers advantage for the side of Powerpuff Girls should they decide to go after this Ancient Treant.
It is a 3-on-2, but the Vox is not in the most comfortable position as far as health goes. The Reza is going to be the one that we really need to set up the plays as the game goes on. The amount of burst that a Reza can provide will make it very easy for a Vox to safely engage, as well as with the gauntlets coming out of I'm Just April, it can set up some really unique transitions. You can lock up the enemy team where that Nether Form detonator will come out and hit all enemies. But great use of the minion candy here in the lane for Tribe. It is going to give Super Shot time to recall and keep the wave at a comfortable position. He might miss out on probably 1 CS in the lane, would be my assumption, but we'll have to see. He does have the Into the Fray, so he'll be able to jump in here pretty quickly. But it does look like probably going to miss out on that 1 CS.
Yeah, just 1 gonna go down before he gets back, and that's a great play by Tribe. Like you said, excellent use of the minion candy to make sure and gets the barbed needle, which is gonna give him that little bit of extra sustain, and that's what was so crucial. That's why they wanted to force that early recall so that they could get that little bit of extra sustain and keep him in this lane a little bit longer. Laid to rest, going to be fighting it out with Zephyrus. Zephyrus using the healing flask, and now Super Shot and the rest of the team's all rotating over 3-on-3, and it's going to be Zephyrus just narrowly escaping underneath the turret. Now Ultra could be in some trouble as Taka will be able to jump over, grab that kill. First blood going the way of Tribe Academy.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, that Troublemaker on Reza is absolutely key for getting you in and out of those sticky situations. Great execution there, did save his life. He used it over that lane wall there, which got him out to safety. The same cannot be said for Ulsha here on Vox, who did drop. Going into that Poison Shiv first item on Vox is something that, you know, has been a popular item for Vox in the past. I'm not sure it's the strongest item on Vox right now. We've seen some differentiating builds. You know, one of the big ones that we've seen as of late was that, you know, obviously double Tornado Trigger Monocle Sorrow Blade build that does so much burst damage. Not sure how effective that is here in the most recent patches. We've obviously had massive changes, but, you know, going the Poison Shiv Breaking Point build, obviously a lot of ramp up, a lot of ability to shut down the healing coming out of Grace. So I do think it is a useful item. I just probably would have liked to see maybe even the Sorrow Blade come out first, just because there's not going to be a whole lot of early aggression coming out of Tribe, but there will be a lot of mid-game aggression.
Yeah, there definitely will be, especially once this Taka gets his first item. Obviously, you're going to likely be looking for an Aftershock as the first offensive item there. We'll see if he finishes the Storm Crown first or not. That's something that is always interesting to keep an eye on. It's going to be Pool rotating up with Zephyrus right on his tail, and now Pool just completely isolated, not at all where he wants to be. Will use the boots. Is it going to be enough? Yes, because Super Shot blocks that last shot from Zephyrus and makes sure that Pool stays alive. Excellent job by Super Shot, sacrificing himself a bit, but now as he sacrificed too much, healing flask going to be used. Because he stayed under this turret, he's going to be safe. Now you're going to get to see that poison needle, or that barb needle in effect. He's just going to heal up off of these minions and regain so much health. Super Shot, excellent play to keep his captain alive.
Yeah, great plays, and then obviously using the healing flask to keep himself alive. It's really key in moments like that, when if you want to be at the top, that you recognize that opportunity, and if you know you can get out safely, you definitely, even though it is your captain, and if you're going to lose out on anybody, the captain is the best one to lose out on. If you can save them, it does negate some gold going over to the enemies, but now Pool's in a pretty rough spot.
Yeah, Pool's in a pretty rough spot, but so is the members of Powerpuff Girls. They go diving on deep. Taka goes down low, but will go into that Kaku, heal on up. Has the Aftershock, so can do some pretty hefty bursts if they look to dive. Red Mist under the turret, still not going to be enough for a kill. Pool very, very low. Still maintaining turret aggro, is going to be taking a lot of damage. Now they're going to be just backing off. Excellent job by the members of Powerpuff Girls to withstand this pressure and not give up anything. Their turret's still very healthy. All three members still very healthy as they deny the turret dive. But now laid to rest in the jungle. This is where he can work some magic. Finds the kill onto this Reza. Reza just getting his Aftershock completed. And now that he's in depth, so we'll see if he can make better use of, you know, extra use of that now that he's going to have this item in team fights. But for now, it is Tribe Academy starting to apply this pressure, starting to look for damage on this turret.
They absolutely are. Not quite enough to find that first objective, so that will be a little bit of a silver lining there for the side of the Powerpuff Girls. Ulsha now going to try to clear this lane out as quick as possible and force the wave up so that Super Shot can miss out on some of the CS. But it does look like Laid to Rest going to come up here and clean that up himself, just to keep that gold from, you know, being completely worthless. He did miss out on the 1 CS, but one important thing to make note of, unless if it's changed Bacon, which I don't think it has yet, I haven't seen anything on it, is even if you do miss the last hit, you still gain the experience. So just by Laid to Rest being there, it puts them a little bit ahead as they take this first turret and are looking for hopefully more.
Oh, Ultra taken down so low. Good fountain from I'm Just April. Will keep him alive. Going underneath this turret may have been a mistake. Super Shot is the first to fall, and now Powerpuff Girls, they are chasing down this Taka. A double kill for Reza, and now it's going to be a third as it goes over to I'm Just April in the end, but a big ace for Powerpuff Girls, turning this game around here in the early stages. They're going to be able to answer and take a turret of their own. Beautiful fight.
Absolutely great execution from the Powerpuff Girls there. That was a classic case of way overcommitting. They did great on the side of Tribe. They took down that turret very quickly. They had everything in the world to just get out and be happy with that advantage. They overcommitted, trying to get kills, trying to find a little more than they could really chew. And unfortunately, that is a ace going back into the favor of Powerpuff Girls. That is the first turret going for them as well. So everything Tribe gained off of that push onto the turret is essentially negated, as well as giving more to the Powerpuff Girls there. So we are first turret for first turret. Both teams have lost out on that first safety net, but it's not over. Either one of these teams really is still at a point they can take fights. We obviously saw the Powerpuff Girls take one there. Huge damage coming out of Reza once you have that Nether Form detonator activated. Here we go.
Taka jumping in, takes a lot of damage, but will just heal up with the Kaku. Zephyrus on the back lines now, going to be looking to maybe find an opportunity to re-engage if they can get some damage down, but Tribe Academy still extremely healthy after that little skirmish. Didn't amount to much, but it will at least provide some pressure as it allows Laid to Rest to go and start working on this gold miner. This is going to be known, though, because of that scout trap. So now Powerpuff Girls rotating down. Gonna look to try and steal this out. Gauntlet goes down, and it's going to be stolen. It's Reza that picks up the gold mine. He's going to pay for it with his life, but an excellent steal. Laid to Rest gets the Divine Intervention. Now they can look for another kill. 2 kills going the way of Tribe, but they lost out on the gold miner. That could be big. That's a lot of gold that the members of Powerpuff Girls just picked up, and they're not really going to lose too much objective-wise off of this. Crystal Sentry is likely to go down, but that's really all they're going to lose along with the 2 kills.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit in one of the previous games. If you are going to give up kills for an objective steal like that, based on the amount of payout it does have, you have to do it effectively. You have to do it when the lane is in a situation where your enemies cannot just take an additional objective on you. So it was key for them. They did lose out on a couple lives there, but they did steal away that gold mine, which was a huge payout for the team. They don't lose out on anything with the exception of really that 1 Crystal Sentry life. And as of late, we don't really see that get eliminated all too often. Some of the teams that are really snowballing will take that out early, but it's not really a huge net loss for them either.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt them too heavily. You can see 10 minutes in, the gold is still very much even. Tribe Academy definitely would have liked to have pulled out to a solid lead, but it just hasn't come through. Looking at the items, I like the difference we're seeing here. With the Aftershock being built on both of these Crystal Junglers, but then Zephyrus going for the Dragon's Eye, while Laid to Rest goes for a Shatter Glass. Just kind of shows how they're prioritizing things a little bit differently when it comes around to these team fights. Super Shot, though, he's going to be going in a bit, maybe too far. Here comes the Crystal Sentry as well. Nice Gauntlet. Will land a stun. Nether Form Detonator is going to be big damage onto this Grace. Pool is already down. Now Super Shot is getting chased and hunted. Big Red Mist keeps him alive just long enough for them to trade kills. Laid to Rest now trying to 1v2. Can he get out of there? Not at all, as a huge burst comes through from Zephyrus and completes the ace.
Yeah, beautiful setup there. It was Tribe, again, just committing way too hard for what was worth on the table. They were fighting underneath that Crystal Sentry. That Crystal Sentry does so much damage, and the slow is so useful, especially onto a hero like Taka, who does get a movement speed buff when landing that empowered attack from his heroic perk. If you negate Taka's mobility around a fight, it does prevent some of that gap closing ability as he's waiting for the X-Retsu cooldown, waiting for the Kaiten cooldown. He's already burned out on his Kaku. They were able to just get around the fight long enough that they were able to pull out a overall victory there. Obviously, the 2-for-1 trade, gotta feel good. And again, Powerpuff Girls doing a great job every single time that Tribe oversteps. every single time that Tribe overstays their welcome, they are making sure to capitalize and punish them for doing so.
Well, Powerpuff Girls finding a slight advantage when it comes to these team fights, but it is still just that, a slight advantage when you look at things like the gold. And that's could be a big deal. It means that Tribe is going to be able to maybe start turning these around as they go diving in again. The other form detonation again going to do some good damage, but it's not enough. Zephyrus has already fallen. First casualty of the fight. I'm Just April looking to go down as well, and it's going to be Ulsha, the final member. All of a sudden, just like that, a 3-for-0 in favor of Tribe, and they are in a position to really capitalize off of this. Gold Miner going to be started. Super Shot going to carry these Ace Buff minions into the tier 2 turret and take that one down as the respawns are just coming through now. So Tribe all of a sudden just seem to flip a switch and find themselves a team fight going their way.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and at a great time. We're not quite at the Kraken being online yet, but we are definitely in a situation where they're able to clean out a little bit of jungle. They're able to get that gold mine payout uncontested this time. But now Super Shot, a little far out here.
Very far forward, but is gonna be able to deal with it. There's so much fortified health on this Rona, and he's able to stay alive. Another divine intervention, this time onto Laid to Rest as he dives onto the captain. Super Shot picked off the box in the meantime, and it's a second consecutive ace for Tribe Academy. With Ace Buff minions pushed up now, they're gonna easily take down this choke point turret. See, they may even continue on here as the death timers are still ticking away, and they're looking to get onto the Vein Crystal turret. Sentry has respawned. It's going to be slowing them up in the base, but one turret is already down. Do they decide to stick around here? Looks like they want to get out, but Powerpuff Girls looking to fight. Super Shot is out, but now he's isolated. He's stuck away from the rest of the team, and that means it's a kill for Powerpuff Girls. Pool is going to be falling as well, and Super Shot can do nothing but run away. He got out of the fight, but unfortunately he was the only one that was able to escape the base. And so Powerpuff Girls finding a fight, and when they really needed to, because it was starting to get very, very dire, only one turret remaining for them.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful situation for Tribe to be in here. They do lose out on the 2, but as you mentioned, only one turret standing between them and a victory. And if they're able to find even just a kill or 2, if they can get Ulsha and Zephyrus down, then they're easily going to be able to push in the base past April and clean up this game. Obviously, Kraken is on the board, but Tribe, with 4 turrets left in their favor, they, you know, even if they lose out on a fight, there's not really any way that in a single push, the side of Powerpuff Girls can actually win out on a game. And, you know, this Crystal Sentry is alive, so Super Shot needs to be careful.
Okay, Crystal Sentry's going down very quickly, though. Red Mist right on top of that. They target that down. Meanwhile, Laid to Rest is just doing work onto Ulsha. Now they try and chase through. Nice wait for it. It's going to silence all 3, but they just wait it out and jump on through. And now it's going to be Zephyrus getting onto the Sanctuary. Will start healing up. So will the rest of the team. But Tribe showing the fact that they can push around the Powerpuff Girls at this stage of the game, even with the Sentry there and fighting. They were just ignored it, or at least Laid to Rest just ignored it, while Super Shot took the Sentry down, and they were able to do so much damage still. Now I'm Just April. This is not a great position to be in. Zephyrus is alone on the front lines now. First gauntlet comes through. Is there going to be a second? They're waiting for it, and that's going to be a first kill, a second kill coming through for Tribe. Ulsha, the last member standing, and this may just be enough for Tribe to be able to finish the game, but they aren't 100% sure, so they want to make it a guarantee as they make their way over to Kraken and start working on getting this siege objective.
Yeah, and that was a really unfortunate situation for the side of Powerpuff Girls there. They were actually in a 2v3, but the gauntlet did not come down where it actually separated Super Shot and Pool. Obviously, the Divine Intervention and the Fountain coming out, as well as the fortified health and healing that the Rona gets out of the Serpent's Mask, was enough to survive, as well as ramp up enough damage on the breaking point that they essentially won that fight before Laid to Rest even came up. And this is the point in the game now with Kraken marching, only one turret standing between Tribe and a victory. I think they're really in a position that they just have to not die here. As long as they don't get aced here, they should win the game no problem at all.
Yeah, as long as they don't get too greedy, as long as they don't get ahead of the Kraken, just stay behind Kraken, wait for her to get under the turret, and then you can almost do what you want. You can choose to go straight for the turret, you can maybe look for a fight, but now they're just going to hang back. They're waiting for Powerpuff Girls to make the first move. At some point, they're going to want to go in, and there goes Laid to Rest, jumping right onto the turret. They take it down quickly. Goes into that Kaku, gets onto the Vein Crystal now, and they're trying to hold them off, but the Powerpuff Girls just do not have the damage. Kraken still very healthy as Laid to Rest jumps right through the gauntlet, and they're going to be finding one kill there as they take down Ulcha, and almost falling is Pool, but it's just not quite going to be going down as more kills come through for Tribe, but they don't even matter as it is going to be the Vein Crystal destroyed, and Tribe Academy, a little bit of a risky game here as it was not clean like game number 1, but they ultimately do get the victory. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Absolutely is. It was a little bit of a sloppy game coming out through that mid game, but at the end of the day, it is a Tribe victory, 2-0 over the Powerpuff Girls, and it's a newer roster, I guess, is really where I want to get with on this. These are players that all have had good past performances on different teams, but they're now kind of all coming together, so it might take a little bit of time to see that kind of synergy form. So I have to be happy for Tribe here. I think they played really well, but you got to tighten up that synergy. This is the most important split of the year. Well, what's left of the year at least. This is the last opportunity to get into that challenge battle situation. So to help us get ready for the next matchup that we have going on for you guys, we will be heading over to the desk with Dragonborn.
Hey, thanks to Nominee and Tasty. That was a pretty exciting matchup. That was closer. It wasn't as clean for Tribe as game 1, but they got the victory nonetheless, and they did it without losing too many objectives. So these teams, these top-seeded teams, do have to win kind of one-sided to show that they, really can make the long stretch, because, if you have long series, if you risk getting knocked down to the loser brackets, you really put yourself at risk of not making it to the top 3, which is what's really coveted for these teams. We're going to be getting ready for our third and final series of the night, so you guys definitely are not going to want to miss it. We don't actually know exactly which one we're going to get. We're in the process of picking that up, so as soon as we get that locked down, we'll get you guys updated here. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our third series will begin.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here live at the VIS desk, getting ready for our third and final series. And we have a little bit of an intermission as we do wait for the last player from one of the teams to get on for the next stream match. And we'll actually be getting into that matchup here in just a short while. But I actually want to take a little bit of time. The nominees here to help break down, because we're going to take a quick look at the bracket as we jump in. And, you know, interestingly enough, this has been a wild first day of the second split. We have already seen, I think, more upsets in the first day on the one group than we've probably seen in the first day across two groups ever in VIS history. And for the first time ever, Denominate, we have seen a 32 seed beat a first seed here in day one. That has never happened in Challengers since Challengers formed over a year ago. So very...
Yeah, it's... Go ahead.
No, very crazy. I was just going to say, kind of hard to fathom.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, to put that into comparison, that's like a 16 seed in March Madness beating a 1 seed, which has never happened. So to see it come out here in VIS when there's actually 32 seeds, it's not looking good for the Kardashians at this point. I do want to touch on a little bit of what happened there. So the seeding, is done very early on when the rosters first sign up. There is a roster unlock here in VIS, which does allow some players to jump around on some teams, maybe find some better synergy, and really find a team that is capable of getting up to the top, getting into the challenge battles, and actually having a real solid chance of getting into the Vainglory 8. So while it does provide some flexibility, it also can provide a little bit of trouble with the seeding, as we did have quite a few changes on Team Hazard, which is that number 32 seed that did take down the Kardashians. They picked up, I think you were mentioning to me earlier, Dragon, a VG Gold and 2 VG Silver players that ended up being their starting lineup.
Right, and I think it's really important to talk about this because there's a few upsets. One, not a major one. Infinity Rebirth did fall to Rome Press Cruci. 16 seed versus 17 is not a big difference. We did see Lucidity drop to the Bean Regime, and Bean Regime, that's going to be a mouthful. So they've moving on as well. But, there really is... if you think about it, if you've got these really good players, there's no advantage to have to face the best teams early on. Like, it doesn't give you a competitive edge. And really, Vainglory structure is designed to ensure that the best players can join a team, form this ultimate challenger team, and rise to the top. It just so happened that, these players joined a much lower seeded team, actually making their path to victory substantially harder. So it's actually going to be, they have to go up against, better teams earlier on. And that's the choice they made. The Kardashians, didn't show up tonight. And honestly, I'd be surprised, as we look back at this, if it was truly just that. I'm sure there's a lot of other factors, but it is still historic because it's never happened in North America Challengers, to my knowledge. I don't know if it's happened in Europe before. And it is, a sign of the times that there are a lot of competitive players out there that are coming up through these lower teams that not a lot of people know about. They don't have an incredible resume, but they are performing at a very high level, and they deserve to be recognized for that. And so, if they feel like the way they can just get that recognition is to beat a top-seeded team right out the gate, then that's one way to do it. And, mission success for Team Hazard. That is the team actually coming in here. And as a 32 seed, and actually, I got an update. They did beat Room Press Cruci for game 1, so they are actually looking poised as a 32 seed to stay in the winners bracket for at least the first week.
Yeah, definitely. And I do want to touch on the score of the actual first matchup for them with the Kardashians. It was a 2-0 victory as well. So taking down the team that went all the way to the end last time around and cleaning them out 2-0 at the beginning is definitely a great start, making history here in VIS. It'll be exciting to see them when we actually get them to an on-stream game and see just what they're actually all about, see what kind of their hero pool is, and, how their team synergy works out together. They're going to be a team to watch going forward.
Yeah, I did take a look at the games real quick. We do have some of the stats coming up from those games, and the first game did appear to be pretty close, 23 minutes. And when you look at the kills and deaths, favoring Definitely favoring Team Hazard, but not as bad. But second game, a little bit more one-sided. Might be a little bit of a tilting going on that might have happened with Kardashians too. As you know, it's a tough situation to be. You never want to start your split this way. I think there's a lot of high expectations. Kardashians really impressed. They were a lower seed. It's worth noting they were a lower seed team, upsetting everybody else last split. So it's kind of a little bit of a kind of how Challengers is. It's a little bit normal, I guess, to say that this is how it's going to be. Is you're going to have young talent coming in, you're going to have upsets. That's just the name of the game. So it's not really a surprise, but it is the first, so we wanted to highlight that a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about our matchup here tonight, the one we're going to be actually getting into. It is Necrolite versus the Bean Regime, and these are two teams that, we know a lot about Necrolite, a lot of history there, but when we move over to the 21st seed Bean Regime, not a lot, other than maybe Fatal, who I believe is, I'm not sure if he's actually, let's look, he's starting today. But again, this is, another case of, we're coming in here expecting a lot from Necrolite, and they really have to prove that they're a top seeded team by coming in dominating over a 21 seeded team.
Yeah, I definitely think that, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Now, obviously, looking at the matchup that we're heading into here is going to be a fun one to watch. So now Lightning T is always one of those players that has stood out to me in the competitive scene. He's carried a lot of teams very high off in the seeding, and his competitive history dates incredibly far back to, a couple of the smaller individual tournaments where he has beaten teams like Team Solo Mid, Hammers back in their prime, when they were, what is now what was eventually the Immortals roster. So, Lightning T is a player that can compete with the best. So having him on any lineup and to have him with Stan and Solo in Riesco, I actually think this is going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch forward. Now, based on my luck today, having the Kardashians already dropped down, I don't want to give any bad luck over here to Necrolite, but this roster particularly is actually incredibly stacked, in my opinion. I do see them coming out on top here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He is our player to watch, Lightning T. As always, he'd probably always be my player to watch if he is playing that game, because he is just absolutely stellar. We're going to get actually into the draft. I believe we're ready to go, and so let's jump right in as it is underway. And Necrolite, they're actually going to be starting off with an Idris band.
Yeah, and Idris isn't one that we've really seen banned all that much in this patch. The Catherine is going to be taken off as well, but it is a quick pickup of this Blackfeather over on the side of Necrolite. And now looking over on the side of Regime, it is a Rona pickup here, and possibly even a Rhyme it looks like they're looking at. Maybe even going the safe route, picking up the Arden here. I think giving over the Blackfeather and the Rhyme to the side of Necrolite would be a huge mistake for the Regime here, and they're having some time deciding, but it is the Rhyme they go with, and I think this is a great denial pick because that weapon Blackfeather and Rhyme excels so much in those longer fights, and based on the fights here in 2.9, the higher health pools, the fights do last around, between that 10 and 20% longer mark for the majority at least. So giving away two heroes that scale so heavily would be disastrous. It is a Lance pickup here, and we saw the Lyra earlier not really work into the Rhyme. I do like the Lance. When Rhyme commits into the fight, Lance can really bully him around, and a Sky pickup now for Necrolite.
Sky, this is a fascinating draft from Lightning T here. Necrolite starting off with just the ban, in fact, was a little bit unconventional, and then with the Idris, we haven't really seen Idris banned out in 2.9 at all, in fact, and then just finishing it up with picking up that Sky. This is clearly Lightning T saying that he feels he could win this game on Sky. Doesn't really have any issues. He has actually played a lot of Sky in his past. He's known to be a phenomenal Sky. So I have to imagine this is going to be is it weapon Sky in the lane, or is he going to go to the jungle and let Blackfeather take lane?
It is a weapon blade picked up for Lightning T, but I do heavily think this is going to be a jungle Crystal Sky. It's the only thing that really makes sense here. the Weapon Blade just to help some clear. So that's my 2 cents here.
All right, well, we're going to find out how it all plays out as we jump into game number 1 of this final and third series of tonight. And let's take it away, Tasty Bacon, as we take into the fold.
All right, thank you very much, Dragonborn, and it's our final series of the night, as it is going to be Necrolite up against the Bean Regime, looking to make another upset, as they already have one upset to their name from round number 1. Looking to continue this run through the winner's bracket. Riezgo with this Captain Lance. Lightning Tea on the Sky is a pick that I really love into the Rhyme and the Rona, because you can just do so much work while your opponents are trying to run at you. Right now, they're getting a big root onto Fatal. Fatal's going to get taken down pretty low, has to use his healing flask very early on. And this means that Necrolite now going to feel very confident starting up this Ancient Treant. We'll see if they can secure that for themselves. Looks like they want to actually back off of it. Still not quite satisfied with the situation they're in. The Ancient Treant going the other way, and it is going to be taken away by Stand Solo. And now are they going to feel confident enough to look for this fight? Level 2s coming out for most members of this game. Not Caesar is going to be stuck up, though, and he is going to be falling. First Blood going the way of Necrolite, and Fatal, he may not be out of the woods just yet either. He's going to get rooted by the Impale. Stand Solo ends up actually jumping onto the jungle camp. That may just allow Fatal to avoid falling here, but excellent start for Necrolite.
Yeah, beautiful start for Necrolite here. And one thing I do want to touch on this Sky. So we all pretty widely know that in 2.8, Sky was in maybe not the most comfortable spot. In this 2.9.1 update, obviously we have the health changes and the armor and shield changes, but looking on to Sky's forward barrage, it does have a... Oh, hold on, Lightning Tea here. It might be getting dropped.
And what? So may Spirit Eater. This is so close up in the lane. Fatal looking to try and secure that kill. Doesn't quite get it. Those minion candied minions now. Spirit Eater have to be a little bit careful, even with the Book of Eulogies. Taking a fair chunk of damage there, but it is going to be okay as Lightning Tea recalls back to base. You see, it is going to be a Crystal Power Sky up in the lane for Lightning Tea. So I'm going to be curious to see if he does go for a Frostburn Denominate to get that big slow, but not Caesar. He's going to just be finding himself a free kill onto Riezgo. Excellent work there.
Yeah, excellent work. And to touch base on it a little bit again, obviously Sky, with the lock-on changes in 2.8, made her very difficult to play. Coming into 2.9.1, the crystal ratio has been increased a whole 40%, and the lock-on ratio is decreased a little bit, so it brings her a little bit closer to that 2.7 Sky. So she is in a much better spot. I do think into a Rhyme and a Rona, two heroes that want to dive onto that backline, the Crystal Sky makes so much sense. Obviously, we'll probably see that Frostburn come out first, try to create some distance, slow down the enemies, and then I would almost certainly assume a Dragon's Eye is going to come out for that second or third item and get that scaling damage that we know Sky to have. She has one of the greatest single target damage potentials in the game when that forward barrage is locked on and ramping up. So it's going to be fun to see Sky back as she's taking a lot of damage here in the lane. She is better, but is still very difficult to play in the early game.
Yeah, it's definitely one that can be tough, and I'm curious to see if the Frostburn would be the first item built, though, Denominate, because it doesn't provide a ton of damage. Meanwhile, down to the jungle, though, it's actually Standing Solo, able to pick off not Caesar, going a little bit too deep into enemy territory there, and paying the price for it as a result.
Yeah, absolutely is, and Standing Solo now going to take away some of the enemy jungle off the back of that kill. He can't go too far, obviously, now with the Crystal Sentry spawning onto the map, as well as we're only 4 minutes into the game. Rhyme is already back up. That was a long way to cross the jungle for Standing Solo, but he is going to take a half rotation, which is going to give him a little bit of a lead. Now level 6, he has that Rose offensive, while Rhyme still struggling to get that Valkyrie online. And now it is going to be Standing Solo and Lightning Tea splitting some ambient gold here in their jungle, getting Sky closer to that online point, getting Blackfeather closer to that Sorrow Blade, which it appears he is going first. I have to say I like what I'm seeing out of Necrolite so far.
Very aggressive moves. Again, trying to get those early power spike, trying to get to that mid-game strength. that this composition holds. Both teams have a very strong mid-game power spike, and so whoever can get there first, if they can take advantage of that slight lead, it can cause a massive gap to appear between these teams. For now, you can see standing solo in the enemy jungle, just going to be clearing out this middle tree, but now is he going to be in trouble? And he's looks like they're actually not going to try and capitalize on him. He's instead going in onto Not Caesar before he gets that fortified health built up. But there's a sentry here, and you're 1v2 standing solo. Very, very risky plays. Is going to be able to get out, at least for now, because Spirit Eater is here to try and cause some damage. Does jump over the wall, though, as the rest of Necrolite rotates on over. And Lightning T, Dragon's Eye as the first item, going to be looking to ramp up, but a big Valkyrie will secure a kill for the Bean Regime. Excellent job with that Rhymal, and now standing solo. He's going to try and kite away with Lightning T. They're able to back out to safety, but a great job by Bean Regime capitalizing on the situation.
Yeah, they did, and that's kind of why I do still like the Frostburn on Skye. It provides your team so much additional peel or chase depending on the way that the fight is going. By going with the Dragon's Eye first, yes, you do have a higher damage potential. That was something that was sacrificed by the Frostburn, but it provides a more consistent slow now. It's 30% at all times, as opposed to the 22% it used to be with just a Frostburn.
Standing solo is trying to take down Fatal, but Fatal is staying alive for so long that Spirit Eater almost got a kill in return. As it stands, though, it is just a 1 kill for Necrolite lead that has just been acquired as a result of that one. So Lightning T returning to this lane again. Like maybe going for an Eve of Harvest for the second item. Is there a spot where Lightning T actually ends up going for a Clockwork instead of something like an Eve of Harvest in this situation, Denominate?
I think the Eve comes out first, in my honest opinion. We did obviously have some changes to the Clockwork as well. So now Clockwork does have its own damage in its kit. So it has 60 crystal power now, up from
nice double root. Sorry to cut you off, but here comes Standing Solo jumping on in. Lots of damage getting traded over, and that's the first kill of this fight for the side of Necrolite. They continue chasing Not Caesar, trying to stay alive as best he can, but the fortified health just isn't enough. Diving under the turret now is Necrolite. Fatal is a little bit too tanky for them to take out in that situation. Still 2 kills means that Standing Solo is going to be able to get deep into the enemy jungle and start clearing away these camps, trying to grab an even larger lead for Necrolite. You see the gold, it's almost 3,000 gold in their favor already, just 8 minutes in. But Lightning T, he gets caught trying to recall. He didn't react for a little while, maybe had the shop open. And once, by the time he realized that he was taking damage, it was much too late as he ends up going down.
Yeah, and Riesco is doing such a great job with these Githian walls. And, we were touching on it, the changes to Clockwork, the additional cooldown that it now has in addition to the 60 crystal power. The passive, when you damage an enemy hero with an ability, you reduce all of your cooldowns by 7.5%. It does only happen once every 2 seconds, but with the forward barrage, you're hitting that every 2 seconds. And first turret is now going to go down on the side of Necrolite. And this Rhyme really having good effect so far, as it's taking a lot of time for this Skye to really ramp up.
Definitely is taking a fair bit of time, but Riesgo is going to be helping to secure some more kills for the team. Lightning T finding another one, 3-1-1 for this Skye, and it has those 2 items completed. Is going to be really starting to output some massive damage, especially once that 3rd item comes online. We'll have to wait and see what exactly the team decides to go for, but now this first turret could be under pressure. Some good damage on the Spirit Eater. He's trying to Red Mist to stay alive, narrowly avoids getting hit by that Impale and rooted up, and is going to be able to clear out those Munions, at least for now. Again, a couple of more forward barrages, and Spirit Eater could be taking a bit of a nap. Meanwhile, down in the jungle, though, Standing Solo in a 2v2, Riesco fairly low, but Standing Solo doesn't seem to really care about his captain being low. He still wants to fight. They're just going to rotate up to the lane. They forced the recall out of Spirit Eater. And with Not Caesar and Fatal rotating up, will they be able to defend this turret?
It's going to be rough. It's taking a lot of damage quickly. Skye also has some... Oh, hold on, not clear. Or not Caesar.
Not Caesar, going to be going so low, but he was not the primary target. It was actually the turret. They end up taking it down And now it is going to be Stand Solo getting traded. One for the turret. And Lightning T get out. Nice Surrey Strike over the top of the entire team, but he's going to get rooted up himself. Very low on energy. Don't think he's going to get out of this one. Riesgo, you got to be careful now, too. Try and prevent this ace from happening. Uses the boots, get away for now, but he's getting closed in upon. He does prevent the ace at the very least, even if he ends up falling here, which it looks like he's going to, especially with the gauntlet coming down. Gold Miner immediately started up by the Bean Regime, mostly out of convenience sake. But it is still the first turret of the game going down in favor of Necrolite.
Yeah, but the gold mine swap makes the gold dead even. And, you know, again, the Sky does take some time to ramp up. The Black Feather does take some time to ramp up. He now does have the Poison Shiv and Sorrow Blade complete. Looking over at Rhyme, the Shatterglass is complete. It looks like he's probably going into an Eve of Harvest for the second item. That's going to give him some additional energy sustain, as well as be able to heal while he is gaining that fortified health. And actually, the kill onto Stand Solo in that last fight, it's something that a lot of players really overlook. Rhyme's heroic perk, the Frost Guard, when you do damage an enemy, you do chill them. That chill does do damage over time, and it is sizable over the course of a fight. We saw it into full effect there, but now this fight's breaking out quickly.
Yeah, very much a fast and furious fighting action game because both these teams are just so aggressive. Nazis are getting a ton of damage down with this Rhyme and actually forcing Stand Solo to Rose offensive out of Charm's way. Can they find another way in now is the question, as these minions pushing up towards the side of Necrolite. Bean Regime playing very confidently here in the 12th minute of the game. They have evened up this gold. They were down by a little over 2k gold earlier on, and that gold difference has disappeared largely in part to that gold miner getting picked up. So excellent timing on these fights for Bean Regime. The Echo now available for this Arden, so the double gauntlets can start to come out. And Necrolite, you got to be a little bit concerned by the fact that they haven't been able to find many of these fights cleanly.
Yeah, it is an Echo coming out onto the Arden. It is going to give that double gauntlet, but we also have to look at Riesgo. Has picked up an Echo of his own. Very likely going to be used on that Githian wall, and this is one of the greatest situations for a Lance to have that. This is a triple melee composition. The odds of you landing a triple stun and then chaining it into another triple stun are absolutely massive. So to see these fights going on, Lightning T has the broken myth, so he's going to start to really pack a punch.
He is just doing a ton of damage, but as of right now, they still haven't found that clean engage that they're looking for. Stand Solo rooted up. Nice Winter Spires from Not Caesar. Lightning T finally getting himself involved. Is it going to be too late, though? Death from Above is not going to be connecting. Fatal, very, very low. Excellent forward barrage, but in the middle of everything is Stand Solo going down. Lightning T trying to run away, trying to just slow everyone down with that forward barrage, but isn't going to be able to stay alive long enough. And Bean Regime finding themselves 2 kills. Gonna look for a little bit more here, chasing down Riesgo. I don't think they're gonna get this kill on the Lance to get the ace, but they can turn their attention to this Crystal Sentry. They can turn their attention to the Gold Miner, and that's exactly what they have done. Sentry defeated, Gold Miner nearly taken down as Not Caesar just solos that with no issues. And the Bean Regime, all of a sudden, they're the ones with the 2k gold lead.
Yeah, and this is kind of the downfall of not having the Frostburn on Sky. We've seen in these fights, they focus on Stand Solo. They're able to drop him pretty quickly with the amount of damage that this Rona does to those other melee heroes. So it's very quick pickings on the Stand Solo. Lightning T is not able to kite as well as we know Sky to. Yes, the Surrey Strike can be used, but looking at Rona, 2 gap closers. The Rhyme, not necessarily a gap closer, but if he does get onto you, he can root you up. He can stun you with that Valkyrie. And Lightning T taking a lot of damage here, not able to separate the enemies.
And not quite able to get the work done that they need. Stand Solo is on the retreat. He is very low. Look at the health of everyone on Bean Regime. They're so healthy, but not anymore. All of a sudden, the damage from Lightning T is there, and they dive on in. Fountain of Renewal gets used by Fatal. Not Caesar is extremely low, but can he stay alive long enough? Not quite. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Lightning T makes it a 2-for-1. Fatal is going to be the last man standing, but with this lock-on movement speed bonus, Lightning T can just chase him for days, and Fatal has nowhere to go but down, and it is an ace for the members of Necrolite.
And this is the worst time, Dragon, or Tasty, to lose out on a fight. 15 minutes in the game, Kraken is on the board. Lightning T and Riesco starting that up quickly. The ace minions here in the lane gonna do a lot of damage to this turret, as well as prevent Not Caesar from coming down and contesting the Kraken, unless if they just choose to ignore it. So it is going to be Spirit Eater taking those minions. That's a quarter to a third of the health of that turret already gone, and the Kraken's not even there yet. So really good take by the side of Necrolite there. We see the damage ramp up Lightning T can have when he sticks into a fight. And now that Stand-In Solo has some good defense to his name, and Lightning T has that Aegis complete as well, it's really the best opportunity for Necrolite. They still don't have that additional slow, so they're relying a lot on the Black Feathers on point, as well as relying on the good Githian walls coming out of Riesco to help Lightning T keep the damage coming in.
Death from above, right on top of this Rhyme. Great Gauntlet is going to keep Necrolite away from pushing with the Kraken, but they're just looking to fight. This is a big 3-on-3. Fatal trying to push Lightning T out. Lightning T getting a lot of damage, building up those stacks with the Dragon's Eye, and now with this forward barrage, it's just doing so much work. Stand-In Solo has already had to retreat out of this fight, though. Will he try and just throw some damage over the wall is the question. He does get one on point to land, and it's enough for his team to find the kill. He jumps back in on the Fatal. That could be a mistake. Fatal's going to take him down. Meanwhile, though, Lightning T pushing on in with Riesco, trying to find the kill onto Not Caesar. He's very, very low. The fortified health keeping him alive, but he can't land these Winter Spires onto the sky. And that is going to be Kraken now onto the crystal turrets. Fatal looking to push Necrolite away, but is too little too late when it comes to trying to save this turret. That is going to go down, and Necrolite, despite what looked like a great start for the Bean regime, is going to be finding themselves just one turret away from the Vein Crystal.
Yeah, one turret away, and looking over at the Rona's build, we do have a Serpent's Mask, a Tension Bow, and a Breaking Point complete, as well as working into a fourth offensive item. We still do not have tier 3 boots on the Rhyme, so he's not able to make multiple engages during a fight, and that's a little lackluster to me. One of Rhyme's biggest benefits is getting those journey boots. You're able to make an initial engagement. You're able to follow up with a journey boots proc 12 seconds later thanks to that passive reset. That's the best opportunity this Rhyme has to keeping Lightning T locked down, and they're not able to capitalize on it because he's put his gold elsewhere for this time being. And then, as we touched on it, we're working to a fourth offensive item on Spirit Eater. It's not favorable in this sense. We need to get an Atlas Pauldron built for Standing Solo, as well as Spirit Eater needs to be able to survive the damage that Standing Solo is going to be able to put out. That execute damage is so massive.
It really is. It does so much work in these fights. Necrolite, we're looking to set up for another one. That's going to be Stand-In Solo getting rooted in the middle of all three members. Immediately dropped down to half health. Gauntlet comes over the wall. They're trying to go after this Black Feather. Double Gauntlet forces him so far out of the fight that they can instead turn and isolate Lightning T. Lightning T's getting so much damage down onto Spirit Eater, though. Can he find a kill here? Virtually a 1v3 for him, and he's somehow still alive, somehow repositions himself to the opposite side of the fight. Necrolite gonna look to maybe refresh, try and back away here a bit. Not Caesar takes so much damage, gets caught in the death from above, somehow still alive, but will fall down to Riesco. Lightning T is an absolute monster with this sky pick as they find two more kills. Riesco gets both of them, but Lightning T, what a fight for him on this sky. I have no idea how he just survived that.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And Riesco, all he has to do here is buy time. He's done a great job preventing the recall from Fatal. Not going to be able to prevent that one, but it's given Lightning T time to take down that turret, He does not have the energy to close out the game, but they are one step closer to winning. It is a small gold burst into his team's pockets, and it's a beautiful spot to be in for Necrolite. You have 4 turrets standing. You've won out on the last couple of fights. Despite the fact they've been close, they have won out. Lightning T's at a point in his build that he can survive. He has some additional cooldown now thanks to the Halcyon Chargers he has complete. That's an additional 15% cooldown and additional energy. And obviously the bonus health on top of it, just the cherry on top. So Lightning T in a great spot in his build. They are looking for just 1, maybe 2 kills, and they can close out the game here.
That was an absolutely incredible team fight for Lightning T. His positioning and his ability to kite is just unreal. Members of the Bean regime were unable to get him, and that's without a Frostburn. Imagine if you had a Frostburn in this build, like how much more difficulty they would have getting onto him. But for now, just going to be forward barrage over the wall. A little bit of damage onto Fatal, but he goes right into the thick of things. Death from above, going to come down. Beautiful Githian wall stun. Echoed into another one. Great work by Riesgo setting up this fight, and they are just mowing them down now. Fatal and Spirit Eater are so low. They're just going to be falling here shortly. Somehow, Standing Solo still alive. Spirit Eater also somehow still alive, as they're going to be continuing to chase him down, but they could just potentially look to end this game. Not Caesar, I don't think, can stop them from just walking into the base. Because Spirit Eater got away, though, Spirit Eater didn't actually fall. It makes it so that Necrolite doesn't want to risk going into the enemy base and perhaps losing that fight. So absolutely crucial that Spirit Eater just survived there.
Yeah, but it is going to be Necrolite now starting up the Kraken. Bean regime knows it's going on. They are rotating down, but Standing Solo did recall and topped his health off. And Lightning T, Riesgo very low here, but they're looking for the fight.
Damage. Valkyrie's just going to clip Lightning T. It's not going to do enough to lock him down. And now he's on the back lines. Not Caesar is going to be taking a lot of damage, but Lightning T aggro's with the Sentry. He could be falling. One more hit is all it's going to take. Spirit Eater takes him down, but in the base, Standing Solo is trying to finish this game off on his own. The recalls come through. It's 3-on-1, but he's got the crystal so low. A Rose offensive could end it, and he takes the crystal down. Standing Solo finishes the game appropriately while standing solo, and it is going to be the game #1 going the way of Necrolite.
The puns are too real right now, Bacon. Standing Solo, like you mentioned, doing exactly what his name said. Great decision and execution there. Rushing down the base, knowing with the damage he had, as long as Lightning T and Riesgo could prevent the recalls long enough that he could close out the game, and they did just that. So to help us with that exciting breakdown here, we're going to be heading over with Dragonborn. And Dragon, what a great performance coming out of Necrolite and the Bean regime here. For a long time, that game was very back and forth.
It really was, and I'm not sure if it's the Sky that helped Necrolite win it, or if maybe that was possibly a deterrent, because, you know, on one hand, the poke that comes out from Sky just was absolutely phenomenal, and be able to, like, slow down the Rona or prevent the Rhyme from getting onto the back line. But one of the challenges was when Sky got caught out, she was so vulnerable. Lightning T was so vulnerable. Really, to all the damage. Rhyme was able to isolate Sky so often in those fights. The gauntlets were fantastic at keeping Blackfeather locked in. And typically, Blackfeather has no issues getting through the gauntlets, but when it's a double gauntlet, he's now forced to use his reflex block. So it was a really close game, and honestly, you know, Bean Regime should really be feeling really great about how that game went along. I mean, it was absolutely incredible matchup, but I'm actually really surprised. Lightning T on the Sky, he played well, but that pick was so squishy into that composition, and oftentimes he would actually position himself like right in the middle of the damage. He was trying to get on top. He was trying to use a Series Strike to, you know, get a kill, but oftentimes the kill didn't go through. That he was taking damage would go down himself. We saw right at the end there, that was very risky. They almost could have given the ace up at that point, and that would have allowed Bean Regime to actually push all the way through and start taking some more of their own objectives. That was a very close, very risky call for them to make, and ultimately they get the win. You know, we'll look back and say, well, Necrolites get the win. They'll move on maybe to the next round if they can win this next game. But Bean Regime definitely gave them a run for their money.
Absolutely did. And again, it just goes to show how tight the competition has got. And Sky does take some time to ramp up, so I'm not surprised that game was as even as it was for so long. The Rhyme did absolutely great work there at the beginning. So for the Bean regime, I have to be proud for them. You know, this is a team that's a little less known coming into the competitive scene here, but they really had a good showing. You know, they're here in the second round, and they're, you know, making a convincing effort here against Lightning T. This next game could go either way. I think both teams did have a really good draft last time around. It was, however, Necrolite that did find the victory. This could be a game 3, though, if Bean regime can keep it up.
Well, we'll have to see. Again, I thought it was very good, but I felt Necrolite's draft really put them at a point where the Sky pick, you needed to follow it up with someone who also really is kind of a better front line. And Arden wasn't quite enough. Blackfeather, squishy, was very slippery, really hard to lock down. And so was Sky, but once they did get the root onto either the Blackfeather or the Sky, they deleted them very quickly. So I think B Regime has what they need. We might be actually seeing a Saw here, or they could be trolling us. It's going to be that Arden first pick, likely. Yeah, no Saw here. I would have been surprised to Saw, maybe even first pick. We could see a Saw last pick to nominate, but Rhyme is going to be the pickup here from Necrolite, and a very good pick because we saw that really was probably what was keeping Bean Regime in that game. They played Rhyme kind of the way you want to play to his win conditions for as often as they could. They won a few fights that way.
Yeah, they definitely did, and I think Saw is a fairly viable pick this patch. He did get some pretty sizable changes to his damage, so that is one thing, you know, to look into as I get into the numbers a little bit here. His weapon power did increase from 50 to 87, all the way up to 50 to 127 base damage. So at level 12, that is a 40 base damage increase, as well as got the health buffs just like everybody else. So I do think there is some viability in Saw. It just has to be into the right picks. And because of Saw already being so slow, I think with that Rhyme first pick coming out of Necrolite, it does make it pretty difficult to do so, as well as the opportunity to get Atlas Pauldron because of how slow you are is just a little too sizable. So I like the draft that Bean Regime has put together here. However, it does take some time to ramp up. Into a double crystal composition, though, it's going to be very clear what level of defense they need to build, and I think there's a pretty sizable chance we could see Bean Regime be able to ramp up a lot of damage on this Finn, because he's not going to have the movement speed, even if there's no Frostburn, to get out of the way of that forward barrage. It is going to give Sky a very easy opportunity to ramp the damage up.
Well, but with a Rhyme, you're really not actually, your front line's not just Finn, right? You actually have Rhyme going into the front line, and Finn's almost as a tool just to provide that polite company and the crowd control. So you have to kind of be wary of both Rhyme and Finn as they engage. Then you have Celeste poking away from the back line. I honestly like Necrolite's draft better because of the Celeste pick. That damage is going to outscale everybody else on the side of Bean Regime. Kestrel will have a lot of, will be able to do a lot, but there's the Heliogenesis actually really do a good job at spoofing out where Kestrel goes invisible at, so it's really hard for Kestrel to go invisible, to use the active camo, and actually, you know, get away from the attacks as that takes place. But hey, we're getting to the game. It's actually started, so let's jump right into it. Let's get into the fold, as I'm going to hand it off to my guys, Denomine and Tasty Bacon, to take us away.
Okay, here we go. Thank you very much, Dragonborn. Potentially the final game of the night here. Denomine, Necrolite going to be looking to close this one out 2-0, while the Bean Regime wants to make us have our first best of 3 go the distance tonight. And it's going to be up to Not Caesar on the Sky, Spirit Eater on the Weapon Kestrel to try and make that happen.
Yeah, definitely looking to do so. Both of these teams are going to be splitting that ambient gold in the back. Do want to make note, this Rhyme does have a weapon blade. We have seen Pon the original in the past run the weapon Rhyme and win with it. So I think it could be a good denial pick just to kind of help provide Lightning T a little bit of additional safety on the Celeste.
We'll see. We've also seen Orion be able to do a lot of work level 1, but right now standing solo is just eating damage from that forward barrage. And Necrolite, there's no way they're going to be able to stick around on this one after losing that much health. Lightning T is still able to trade quite a bit of damage right back, but standing solo, he's got to be on the front lines, which means he's going to be taking this damage. Healing flasks starting to get used on both sides of the fold. Now not Caesar, he's on the wrong side of this fight all of a sudden. He's going to be the first one to fall. That was a big mistake from Not Caesar. Hit that level 2 and got a bit overzealous.
Yeah, he did. And the Surrey Strike is on such a long cooldown here at the beginning of the game. It's actually been a pretty long debate with the community on whether you overdrive your forward barrage first or if you go into that Surrey Strike. Obviously, going into the Surrey Strike levels resets your forward barrage more frequently, as well as you can dance around the fights that much easier, but you do lose out on some of that damage that was already nerfed a bit on Sky. So it's kind of an interesting trade-off as Bean Regime is taking so much damage from Lightning T at this point.
Yeah, Lightning T and Riesgo doing some serious work up here in the lane. Taking a fair bit of trade damage back thanks to the minions and such. Riesgo actually has to use the boots in order to make sure he doesn't just get pegged by that forward barrage as he tries to run back to his side of the map. They will be meeting 2v1 around this. Treant does go over to the side of Necrolite, and now Not Caesar, he's taking so much damage. He has the movement speed though. Can he get fully away? Stand solo, he's not going to try and chase. He will just let him go. He has business elsewhere as he wants to try and get into the enemy jungle, steal away some camps perhaps, but without the mid Treant being there, he's going to just cut his losses and recall back to base. So the first blood still remains the only kill to be secured thus far, even though there's been a couple of close calls.
Yeah, a couple of close calls indeed. I actually think in this case there is a pretty feasible option that both of these carries on Bean Regime could just go for offensive items and try to force Rhyme out of that front line. He has now committed to a Heavy Steel and a Blazing Salvo, so this will indeed be a weapon Rhyme to split up the damage. Now, it does still provide utility with the slow and with the root and the stun that can come out of the Valkyrie, but it doesn't provide the same amount of raw damage, as well as it forces you to actually be attached to an enemy carry longer. You can't get the same amount of damage out of those Winter Spires, so it is going to force Stand Solo so far forward that if the Bean Regime go with enough upfront damage to just force him out early, it's going to put Necrolite in a very uncomfortable position.
The other downside of the weapon Rhyme is that the fortified healthy gains is based off of the crystal damage bonus that you do on your attacks, and if you're going weapon power, you're not going to be scaling that up at all. So you do still get a fair amount of fortified health just because there is a flat damage number involved in that calculation, but it's nowhere near the same level that you would get normally. So you attack faster, but you don't get as much fortified health per attack. It is a trade-off that obviously Stand Solo is going to be aware of. He finishes off the breaking point first, and we could end up seeing a build that actually ends up being similar to the old Krull builds that players used to use, of just going for a breaking point and then a whole bunch of tankiness. We'll see if that ends up being the decision that Stand Solo makes. Right now, they're not going to be able to find that Not Caesar as he backs away just as Necrolite are approaching. This game remains very close here throughout the first 5 minutes of the game. So almost unusual given the way these challenger games have been going today. All of these teams have been looking extremely aggressive. Necrolite obviously going to be really waiting for that Finn to hit level 6. Once Riesgo has those forced chords, things can really start kicking off in a big way.
Yeah, they definitely can, and this Rhyme is going to have a lot of difficulty as the game goes on. Again, as the weapon Rhyme, he has to stick directly onto a target, and Spirit Eater on this Kestrel will have that active camo. He is the weapon power route, which is going to allow him to use that active camo while in combat. And obviously the Sky going to be dancing around the fights. I would really like to see the Frostburn come out on Sky this match, specifically because Rhyme's damage is going to be dependent on getting those basic attacks down. If he's never in range of anybody to get them down, then he's not going to be able to get his slowdown. He's not going to be able to get the roots that's going to follow up. and those roots are so crucial into setting up an additional stun chain. Obviously, the Overdriven Quibble can get that AoE stun. The Core Collapse can get that AoE stun. So there's so much potential if Riesco can get a root, or I mean, if Stand and Solo can get a root down, but it relies on him getting that root, and he's dropped very low right now.
Yeah, extremely low, but getting that big fortified health numbers, especially with the help of Finn, he's able to be very durable. And Fountain of Renewal does get used by Riesgo to keep the team topped off. Both teams using that activation. And now Necrolite, they're interested in sticking around. They have another wave of minions coming up. Lightning T feels confident in his ability with this Celeste. Down in the jungle, not Caesar. Going to be getting caught out of position a little bit, but a Sky is very difficult to truly have caught out of position because of that Suri strike. Able to just zip right over her opponents and get back to safety.
Absolutely, and you know, thanks to the health item changes here in 2.9.1, the Finn Play Company does give you more fortified health based on your bonus health on Finn, and because of Finn's unstoppable turn. Oh man!
Spirit Eater so close to falling there. Lightning T was able to get that supernova right on top of him. Thankfully for Spirit Eater, was able to get out of harm's way and out to safety, but now again, Bean Regime having to put so much effort into trying to protect this turret, but it's starting to get chunked down thanks to these Helios as Lightning T is level 8, has that extra range, is really starting to put this pressure on. Now Necrolite, the rest of the team is up here. They're able to try and push in as 3. Caesar gets stunned up, Glimmer Shots coming out. Going to be trying to push Necrolite back a bit. Lightning T low on energy. He's going to have to back off, and it's a moment of respite for the Bean Regime.
Yeah, a little bit. They were fortunately able to save out on that turret, so they're not giving that big gold spike to the side of Necrolite. Riesco's taking a lot of damage here. One thing I do want to touch on is obviously in 2.8 we had the reduced health as well as reduced gold gain from that first turret. So it's only about 600 team-wide gold that you get off that first turret, but it is much easier to take. Forced Accord, not quite in range. Riesco is now going to have to deal with that 70-second cooldown, but they do get the turret.
That turret take, and I think they're going to be more than happy with that, and giving up that big ultimate in order to get that first objective. We've talked about how important that turret is a few times already tonight, but it is absolutely worth repeating. Now, as a laner, if these minions are in the middle of the map, you are at a much higher risk of being in trouble. Your minions, you have to try and keep them a little bit closer to your side. Either that or just shove the lane up as hard as you can before backing away and trying to get them back towards your side of the map. It's going to be a recall, some second tier 3 items coming out from a lot of these carries. It is Spirit Eater going for it, the Tyrant's Monocle. Lightning T has the Eve of Harvest working towards the Broken Myth, wants to get that Pierce online. And it looks like Stand Solo is going to be going for this Breaking Point full tank build that we were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, he definitely is going for that route, and as he's able to stick around in these fights, it will ramp up his damage. It's just going to take a little bit of time since he doesn't have any additional weapon power to go with it, as well as, you know, he's going to have to get onto one of these targets. But since Spirit Eater and not Caesar will likely commit to the Crystal defense first, since Lightning T is the biggest damage threat, Stand Solo could chunk them down with those basic attacks.
Stand Solo was trying to make a sneaky play, trying to come up from behind the members of Bean Regime, but was unsuccessful in his efforts. Now the Crystal Sentry, we're going to start targeting this, maybe just trying to force a fight, trying to draw the Bean Regime into a skirmish, but oh, the Crystal Sentry goes down below half health. So it's going to be recalling. And it's really nice, actually, if you can stop that Crystal Sentry just above half health. But we'll touch on that later, because it's a great gauntlet keeping members of Necrolite here. But now it's going to be Spirit Eater having to back away. Not Caesar on the opposite side of this team fight. Stand Solo already out of energy. Another downside of this weapon rhyme is not having those energy pools that you need to keep using your abilities. However, he's going to be looking to get on Spirit Eater. Meanwhile, not Caesar has taken down the Celeste. And it's going to be Stand Solo able to answer with a kill on the Spirit Eater. Forward barrage, trying to keep Stand Solo at bay. Stand Solo looks like he's not even interested in this fight any longer. But not Caesar says, wait a minute, I still want to fight. Maybe a mistake as he goes on in, but he just gets far enough away. Riesgo doesn't want to let him leave, though. But as this Finn, he just doesn't quite have the movement speed to get him. He tries to use the polite company, doesn't pull him in, and standing solo. He's still fighting with Fatal here. Fatal doesn't have the same tools to escape this fight as Not Caesar does. The reflex block on the Quibble, it's not going to be enough. Standing solo does eventually find that kill after quite some time and manages to take this Treant. Looked like he may have been rooted a little bit too far away from it, but he does get that down. Nice job with the Force Accord, canceling the recall of Little Caesar, of Not Caesar. Standing solo tried to get the cancel with his Valkyrie, but it was actually pulled away by Riesgo, so ultimate not going to connect. But now all of a sudden Necrolite, they're onto this tier 2 turret. Spirit Eater trying to chase Standing Solo away. One more Glimmer Shot could do it. Barrier will keep him alive. Now all of a sudden Lightning T, he wants a piece of this fight. The turret goes down. Standing Solo gets recalled. A huge Solar Storm just deletes Not Caesar. Just when he thought he had a kill lined up, he gets absolutely destroyed by that Solar Storm. And just like that, this has been a solid 2 minutes of fighting, and Necrolite managing to come out on top.
Yeah, it was a really long chase with Standing Solo onto Fatal. It staggered the death timers, so it did allow them to come up, put some pressure down. Standing Solo did make it to 20 stacks in that fight around the gold mine, but all of it was on Fatal, as it's the only target he could really effectively stick to. He did get a kill on Spirit Eater, but the boots were down. Fatal was not in range of a Vanguard to give that additional movement speed, so I think it was kind of gifted to him. When he does land the consecutive basic attacks, he will continue to get that slow, and with the Journey boots, he is at a position in this game where he can effectively stick to Spirit Eater much easier than he can Not Caesar.
Let's go down to about a quarter health. The gold mine being worked on. Not Caesar, nice block on the core collapse. Standing Solo looking to get in the thick of things though. Still has the ultimate available. Is it going to come out? Blocks the one shot. A big Solar Storm chunks through Sky once again. Lightning T able to find these ultimate. Spirit Eater gets pulled in. Immediately uses the boots to try and get out. Riesgo still low. That's going to be another Force Accord, this time not connecting, but Standing Solo is ready to rush in and look for some kills. It's going to be the Gold Miner going the way of Necrolite. Lightning T trying to find Spirit Eater while keeping the damage up on the Fatal, keeping those Dragon's Eye stacks going. And now Standing Solo looking for a target. The Crystal Sentry very low. Crystal Sentry's going to fall. Fatal gets split off from his carry and is likely to be chased down. The Helios coming down on top of his head. One more will do the trick on the backside. It is going to be Not Caesar trying to answer this, but it's a 2-on-1 situation. Riesgo and Standing Solo don't have the most upfront damage, but they are both very, very durable. And they buying time for Lightning T. Lightning T has no interest in this. He is leaving his teammates to die here. Riesgo actually gets out of harm's way. Standing Solo looking to do the same. Lightning T, where are you? Solar Storm comes through. Is not going to hit any targets. Not Caesar almost finds Riesgo. Is going to be finding him in the end. Should be able to get this kill. He does finally find him. These fights just last so incredibly long, and up in the lane, it was Spirit Eater getting taken down as Lightning T finally decided to rejoin his teammates to get that kill.
Yeah, Lightning T now with 4 offensive items has so much damage, and unfortunately for Riesgo, he did pop that fountain to try to live a little bit longer against Not Caesar. Did not actually get him any additional time, so that will be a cooldown now. 35 seconds on that. They're going to have to be cautious. Looks like we do have a pause coming out here. I do want to touch a little bit on how these past couple fights have gone so heavily in the favor of Necrolite, though. Not Caesar has used his Zuri Strike to try to get around the fight so he can try to find damage onto Lightning T. Riesgo has done a great job blocking out on those forward barrages, but it's put him at such a disastrous position. Every single time he's engaged that way, it's been a huge Solar Storm to the face, taking him from half health to 0 in no time at all. But we're ready to get back here into this game, Tasty. Lightning T not able to find a choke point turret, but he's done a great job of keeping this wave pushed up as much as possible.
Yeah, really strong stuff from Necrolite. These fights have not been clean by any stretch of the imagination, but it feels like regardless of that, when push comes to shove, Necrolite is the team coming out with the advantages. They're going to go ahead and start up this Kraken now, Denomine, as Fatal knows this is going on. Not Caesar is here as well. Spirit Eater still a good distance away. Has that one shot, one kill. Necrolite, they're going to have to be careful with their positioning to make sure it doesn't get stolen away. Everyone here, Kraken is getting very close to captured, but the fight is starting great. Gauntlet is going to stun up Lightning T, but no one's able to follow up onto him. He's still safe on the backside. Another stun from another Gauntlet. Solar Storm goes through, doesn't really connect though, and just like that, Necrolite is suddenly put off this Kraken. Standing Solo is going to be fighting, and Necrolite takes the Kraken. Lightning T able to secure that. Standing Solo finds a kill on the backside on this Kestrel, and now Fatal, he's got nowhere to go. He's going to fall as well. One member left. Not Caesar, he gets spotted. The sentry is here, will provide a little bit of a slow. You can see Riesgo doesn't want to go too far forward, just buying time for his team to catch up, and now Standing Solo finds his target. Can they get the slows that they need? Riesgo going extremely low. Fortified Health going to keep him alive. Solar Storm cleans up, and that is an ace with 3 seconds to spare as Kraken is making her way to this choke point turret. It's going to be 25 seconds until Not Caesar is back up, and they take down this first turret in the base. They are on to the Vein Crystal turrets now with Kraken still very healthy. A big force to core in. That's going to be a nice block to prevent the core collapse, but now it's Fatal stuck in the thick of things. Standing Solo just building up those breaking point stacks as they turn their attention on to the turret. First Vein Crystal turret is down. All 3 members of Bean Regime are up, but this Kraken is still above half health. Not Caesar trying to find his way into this fight, but it's going to be a kill for Lightning T on the backline. Spirit Eater is down. Standing Solo getting kited hard by the forward barrage, but it's just buying time. Lightning T, a big Solar Storm again to just keep this Kraken alive and onto the Vein Crystal, and Necrolite will be taking this game. It was a great fight from Bean Regime, but they fall a little bit short, and they are going to be dropped down to the elimination bracket as Necrolite rise to the occasion and take the 2-0 victory.
A great performance out of Necrolite today. That game was significantly more one-sided than the first game, which was very back and forth. Lightning T coming through strong with the Celeste, got his items online very quickly, and they're able to pull it off with the weapon. Rhyme dropping only 2 kills to the side of the Bean Regime. So to help us close out tonight, we're going to jump back to Dragonborn one last time as we wrap up the Group A round of 16-32, whatever it may be, Dragonborn.
Yeah, this is a great example of sometimes using what you just witnessed against the enemy team. Like, you know, they went up against the Sky and they said, man, this guy is really good against our Rhyme. Maybe skying to Rhyme is a good idea. The reality is, Lightning T's Sky is good against a Rhyme. Maybe. It's not that, it's really not one of the things you should try at home, kids, right? Like, you know, when you look at the meta, there's a reason why we don't see Sky as a lot, even with Rhyme coming into the meta, and of course, Standing Solo showed you that, as well as Lightning T on this Celeste. I mean, this was a phenomenal performance by Lightning T and Standing Solo together. You saw that scoreline, 7-1-3, 5-0-3 with Standing Solo. That was just, you know, the pinnacle of what this roster could bring to the fold, what they could do. And I would actually say, you know, Beans should feel pretty good about their performance tonight. They just went up against one of the probably the better teams in this entire tournament this split, and they gave them a run for their money game 1, but Necrolite came back swinging here in game number 2. That does conclude our series for the night. We do want to, of course, give you guys a quick update on all the matches that have taken place. We're waiting for some of the results. Actually, we're waiting for Fate and Tribe Academy. Those are some of the last matches that we'll be getting updated on. But Team Hazard, the 32-seeded team, they have moved on to the next round. So they will actually be still in the winner's bracket. You can see right there as we get some of the other matches updated. And this is the furthest we've ever seen a 32-seeded team obviously make through the tournament. We've never seen a 32-seeded team ever actually even make it into the playoffs. So right now you are witnessing a first, and it's really pretty impressive stuff to see kind of happen in front of you. These new players coming onto the fold, really stirring things up, Denomine.
Yeah, they have. And this team, if they do make it all the way to the finals, is step by step going to set a record for the furthest a team has ever made it as the 32 seed.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be fun. Again, we were not able to cast any of their games today, but looking into next week's game, we'll almost certainly get a chance to view them and see what this team is all about. You know, we touched on it a little bit earlier. Their hero pool may be a little bit unknown in the competitive scene. We are still in a single ban draft, so it is probably pretty favorable to them as they are very high MMR players in ranked, so I'm sure they get a lot of time playing against these other players. They kind of know the ins and outs, and these other teams probably know them a little better than we do. But, you know, again, they've had a good run so far, and they're going to be one of the teams I'm most excited to watch next week.
Absolutely. And we will be highlighting some of these matches coming up next week. Of course, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We will be starting the round of 32 for group number B. So you're not going to miss that. We'll be back here on this channel, same time, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, with a whole nother 16 teams to run through the fold here through this double elimination bracket. So make sure you guys tune in, hit the follow, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Only $14.99.